Does anyone want to speak? Okay, I'm going to close public comment now. Are there any documents to sign?
We have minutes for December 1st, all present with the exception of John. I make a motion that we approve the minutes of December 1st, 2025.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There are no additions to the agenda, and so we'll begin with appointments. We have the Quabbin Health District update. There she is. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And would you introduce yourself and what you do? And
I'm Andrea Crete, the Director of Public Health for the Quabbin Health District in the Belchertown Board of Health. Sorry. So yes, I was asked to attend this meeting to give an update on Tables on the Green and any other health updates that we have going on. So I'm not sure if this board has specific questions about the establishment. We could either start with that, or I could just...
could you just do an overview first?
Sure.
Just so that people listening know what we're talking about.
So Tables on the Green is a new food establishment that opened in, I want to say, March of 2025. That's when they had a pre-operational inspection by the Quabbin Health District's Code Enforcement Officer, John Prenisel. So the process for new food establishments are they fill out what's called a food establishment plan review application. And that asks a bunch of questions regarding like their food safety procedures and policies, what they use for sanitizer. It really kind of gets them ready for a pre-operational inspection. And it allows us to understand their procedures for food safety and what they're doing so we can have a good conversation before they open, because we want them to succeed being a new establishment. So they submitted that in their application for a food establishment permit. They were ready for their inspection in March. So John went there on March 5th to do a pre-operational inspection, and there were some violations, but not enough to really say they can't open. After that, we ended up getting a complaint that came into our office about Tables on the Green, and that was on October 2nd. So he went out, our Code Enforcement Officer, John, to conduct an inspection upon complaint, and ended up having to do an emergency closure because of the conditions of the establishment. He did consult with me prior, and I agreed this would, render emergency closure. Typically, emergency closures, there's certain criteria. We can't just shut a place down because it's not clean or because there's a few violations. If there was like a sewer backup into the facility, that would call for an emergency closure, or no electricity, no running water, or no hot water. But in some cases when the violations are severe, that would prohibit serving food safely and preparing food safely in that environment. That could result in an emergency closure without a hearing. We do have to give what's called due process at some point, but under emergency circumstances, we can, just for public health and safety, we can close. So he did close on the 2nd, but he went back on the 3rd because I think there were some tournaments or something that they wanted to do and get ready for, and so he was told everything would be better the next day. So he did go back the next day and to do an inspection, and it wasn't in full compliance, but there was significant work and effort made to bring the place back up. It wasn't the best. I mean, there was still things that needed to be worked on that were obviously going to take more than 24 hours, but it was enough to lift the emergency closure. So he did lift it, but he went back on the 23rd, 10 days later.
Sorry to interrupt. What are the months? You just saying
October.
October.
October. Yes. October 2nd, the complaint came in, which resulted in the closure. October 3rd, he went back and was able to reopen. He did a follow-up on the 23rd, and the conditions went back down to where it was on the 2nd. So it would have resulted in another emergency closure, but he was told by the owner that they were done, they were going to close their doors, they weren't going to be operating anymore. So he gave her the benefit of the doubt and said, okay, then there's no sense in just closing you if that's what you're going to be doing.
Andrea, can just a point of clarification. So the pictures that we saw, were those taken on the 2nd or the 23rd?
He took 2 sets of pictures. The majority of the pictures, I believe that's what you folks had been sent, was on the 2nd that resulted in that emergency closure. So after the 23rd, we did see some posts on Facebook about, Tables on the Green doing like a Thanksgiving meal, which did concern us because we were under the impression they were done. And based on the conditions on the 23rd, we were like, no, there's just no way. So we ended up sending her a letter to appear before the Board of Health for a public hearing. So now we're going to give due process because at this point
So sending her is sending to whom? The owner?
the owner of the food establishment, yes.
okay.
But we also copied the owner of the golf course.
Okay.
And the owner of the golf course has been made aware this whole time too, because the space is being leased. So we had our public hearing on November 24th, and that was to discuss her future permit for 2026, because to back up a little bit, our senior clerk did reach out to her after October 23rd to verify if they were going to be open or if they were going to renew for their 2026 food permit. And she was told, yes, she did not have any intentions of closing permanently, and they were definitely going to apply for a 2026 permit. And they also wanted to do catering, which would allow them to serve off-site. So that's when we scheduled the public hearing for November 21st. And the board at that meeting,
21st or 24th?
I'm sorry, the 21st of November. I'm sorry, no, I have these dates
That's
written down.
okay.
The 24th of November
Okay.
was the public hearing. The 21st, John went back to do another inspection because we wanted to verify conditions, because the last time he would have been there was the 23rd of October. So it wasn't perfect, given that, a month had gone by where it would have resulted in closure. The expectation was that this would have been taken serious and we would hopefully be seeing full compliance, and that wasn't the case. So at the Board of Health meeting on the 24th, she did show up for the public hearing, which was great. The board wanted us, I went at that point to do the follow-up inspection with John, but we went back on the 26th, which was the day before Thanksgiving, just to verify the conditions and, make sure things would be up to par for the Thanksgiving meal. We were told that the kitchen at Tables on the Green was not going to be used for the Thanksgiving meal, that it was a catered event from the Palmer site, Tables at the Farm. We don't have too much control over outside catering. We did confirm with Palmer that, Tables at the Farm does have a catering permit, and we did see the inspection reports from Palmer, and, it's a better site. They're not having the same issues that we're having here at this location. Mm-hmm. So we went back on we went to the 26th, and ServPro was hired to do a deep cleaning, which was phenomenal. It was like night and day. So a big improvement was made by ServPro. So a lot of the sanitation issues, the cleanliness issues were resolved. There were still quite a bit of violations, but all in all, we were seeing what we wanted to see moving forward. So we did not close. At this point, their current license is only good until the end of the year. They're closed to the public because the golf course is closed. My Board of Health is going to be meeting on the 22nd this month, so next week, Monday, to make a decision on the 2026 food permit. One of the options would be to do like a temporary probationary food permit for like 6 months, because realistically, they're going to be closed until golf starts. So we're not really going to see anything with the kitchen being used probably until like, I don't know, April maybe, whenever I don't golf, so like April, May, whenever that starts to open. So we are going to try to do another inspection before the end of the year. John actually tried going there today, but couldn't get in the building because the whole thing is closed. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be, we're going to have a hard time. That's not to say, you know, private events won't be going there for different functions, but so that's where we are right now. I know you probably heard some things, and you know, you've seen the pictures. But if you have any questions or concerns, I'm here to answer them.
I'm opening it to the board. Questions?
But who's liable if somebody gets sick? Is the town liable, or the Board of Health, or the person? I'm just worried about
It's
our
the food
residents going there.
establishment owner.
So the town's not zero liability if somebody gets food poisoning or something?
No, because we're doing our due diligence, we're doing inspections. Normally with our food establishments, we're in there 2 to 3 times a year. So the ultimate responsibility for complying with the food code rests with the owner of that establishment. We do our best to educate, you know, while we're there and talk about food safety. A lot of times with our inspections, even ones that are, you know, not very good, when we go back a couple days later or a week later, it's all brought up to compliance. That's the norm. This is not the norm. What we're seeing, you know, we should be seeing full compliance at this point, since they had that emergency closure in October. So
How many inspections have you done like this over your career?
I've been doing this for over 20 years, probably thousands,
And
well
where-
over 1,000.
Where do the violations, you know, in par with other inspections have you had? Are they worse or better? I mean, where does table stand?
Well, I was not there on October 2nd, but from the pictures that I had seen from John, it's one of the worst ones I've ever seen. It was just a complete negligence and lack of food safety, no active managerial control. You know, in any establishment, everybody has skin in the game with keeping people safe, including the dishwasher and the servers, the chef. It's not just the owner, but the owner's ultimately responsible, but they're responsible for training their staff and making sure that they have their certifications. And certainly the owner has experience, so they're not like I wouldn't consider them an inexperienced food establishment owner, because they have the other location in Palmer, and they have their Serve Safe Food Protection Manager, which I'm sure they've had that for a while, and every 5 years they have to renew that. So there's just no excuse.
Okay. Nicole?
So first of all, thank you for all of the inspections. I didn't realize that you guys had gone out there that many times, so it makes me feel better to hear that. So just looking forward for a minute, Steve, so she's got to apply for both her food and her liquor. We know that she's coming up on, she's past renewing her liquor. She's going to have to fully reapply, right? So we could probably expect that if she's planning to reopen, we're going to see that sometime in the early spring, maybe?
I would think if she's going to open for golf season, she's going to have to reapply for her
A little bit earlier than that,
license
probably.
sometime
Okay.
in
So where I'm going
January,
with
February
this,
timeframe.
where I'm going with this is, if she does make the application, can we stay on the Palmer inspections and just get continuous updates to make sure that, one of the things that bothers me about what happened on Thanksgiving is that food was trucked in from Palmer to serve on Thanksgiving. And that she was open and serving on Thanksgiving, not in a restaurant style, but to-go meals. Is that your understanding? That was my understanding.
I wasn't there to inspect that. I know there were like pies that were ready-made at the Palmer location, but I don't know the nature of the.
I just want us to stay more on top of what's going on in Palmer. Not that you're not, but if you could.
I don't think we have any jurisdiction.
We don't. But don't you want to know what's going on in Palmer, where her food is being made and being trucked in? I do.
Andrea,
Ahead
have
of-
you been in contact with?
We have been in contact
Yes.
with the Palmer Health agent and their.
And it's public
recent
information, right?
It is. All inspection reports are public information, so we do have that. And
So I would like for our Board of Health to stay on top of that, because if she does come in late winter, early spring to reapply, I want to know what's going on somewhere else. Otherwise, I'll be very vocal about them not reopening. I was disgusted with what I saw.
Well, I trust the work of the Belchertown Board of Health. I know we all do. I appreciate the hard work and the due diligence. Yours is a tough job.
yeah, John spent a lot of time going back, re-inspecting back. And so,
But, for the health and welfare of our residents, thank God you're here,
yes, we don't want to see these conditions. It is frustrating because we can't run the place for them. It's ultimately their job. We can be there to guide them and to educate and to do the inspections, but sometimes decisions have to be made whether they can stay open or not. At this point, I don't see why the Board of Health wouldn't renew the permit, but my recommendation would be to do a temporary one, which obviously there would be kind of like a pre-operational inspection prior to fully operating and functioning the kitchen, like right before the golf season. And then again, once they're in full swing before that temporary one expires, another one would be done. And then, if we're finding the same conditions back in October, then we would be taking it to the board because it would be the Board of Health that
Right.
would have the authority to
That
make that
makes
decision
total sense.
to revoke.
I just want to note that we're at time.
Excuse me?
We're at time. We're just over 15 minutes.
Okay, beyond that, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Do you have any question? Additional? No. Okay. Thank you very much for coming in, Andrea. Oh,
Do we have-
sorry.
Yeah, is there another update?
Anything on COVID or anything? Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay. DEI Task Force? Do we have a representative? Could you state your name and your position?
Of course. My name is Joni Land, and I am a volunteer member of the Belchertown Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force. But I have a quick question as we go
Yes.
through. Have you all seen the concept note that I'm presenting to you tonight?
Yes.
Okay, so
That was
everyone-
distributed to all the board members prior to the meeting.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So what is the best way to start? To talk about the pledge program or to give you an overall update? What would you prefer?
An overall update of the activities of DEI Task Force. This is an opportunity to promote the good work you're doing, and then because we've all read it, we can we can hold a discussion on the pledge. Is that okay?
Sure, I have a few
Okay.
things I've just organized, but we can do it as you like. So the baseline is, I'm not the chair of the committee, as you know, I'm a member of the committee. So I will talk generically about the work that we've been doing and also the plan ahead, which connects back to this request for your approval tonight. So to date, it's been slow moving. I'll start by saying that it's taken us a while to actually solidify the mission and the mandate, to get a full group of volunteers engaged. We've lost some members along the way and had to kind of re-engage a few times with different community members to try to have the full group, which we're still not quite at. I think we have 5 active members at this point. And it's taken us some time to think about the mission because it was wide open for us to consider. So I'll talk a little bit about that and also then this pledge project in context. I think the one big event that we did that I would say is successful is the Pride event in terms of the flag raising that happened in June. We've received, in an ongoing way, positive feedback from the community about that event in terms of just the numbers, but also the fact that it was very family-friendly, the fact that the space was perfectly clean when we left, all of those things that make for a positive community event. So we're pleased about that. And I also just want to acknowledge the fact that as a group of volunteers, it does take us quite a bit to plan those kind of large events. And it comes up now to talking about the pledge. So if it makes sense to kind of transfer it into that. One of the challenges that we have as a group starting out is that we have big ideas for our mission, which is to support diversity, equity, inclusion for the town, and to have Belchertown be a respectful, really just a place that's rooted in respect for our community. And so we've talked about how we go about doing that. And one of the big challenges is the fact that we're doing that with no operational budget. So people are like, you could do events and you can do this and you can do that. And that is all true. But what we have really come down to and kind of where this concept came from that I'm presenting to you tonight is the fact that we really understand the importance of collaboration in order to be able to do what we need to do for the town to support the work that in many ways is already happening. So we're recognizing the fact that we started out not really knowing what was happening in the town, not really knowing what was already part of people's jobs and responsibilities and how we might support that. So the concept for this particular engagement for the pledge program is simple. The idea, and I'm just going to read a little bit of this to make sure I get it all together, but the idea is that we created this idea of the pledge program based on the idea and the sense that we knew that we had to engage in practical steps that would build into the town's existing work and what's already happening, right? And so just kind of wanting to get myself into this. As part of our broader work, we have applied for a Massachusetts grant. We don't know yet whether or not we're going to receive that, but that doesn't change this piece of it. So here's how the pledge works. At its core, the program is about supporting town employees to take meaningful, manageable actions built into the work that they already do that helps strengthen a town culture where people feel respected and valued, further respected and valued. The pledge program invites town employees to voluntarily commit to making one small, measurable action related to diversity, equity, inclusion, something that can be seamlessly integrated into their existing job roles and responsibilities. Each pledge would be self-determined, not assigned. So our job as a task force would not be to prescribe or to enforce these pledges, but rather to support people in brainstorming and helping employees shape and implement pledges that are both meaningful, manageable, and sustainable. I guess that's 3, so that we would be saying both, but sustained over time. We're bringing this forward to you now because we're hoping to start to engage in a pilot program and invite people from the town to potentially participate, employees of the town. And it gives us a chance to hear directly from them, for those who want to participate, wish to learn what fits with their day-to-day work and to bring forward practical actions that can be considered potentially as part of their 2026 work plan. All, again, in the service of strengthening a town culture rooted in respect. And we believe that this program offers a thoughtful, no new cost way to translate Belchertown's values into everyday actions through collaboration, not through compliance. So our goals would then be just to work with people if they decide that they want to come forward and to be part of a small pilot, a group of people, that they make this official pledge to incorporate an idea as part of their day-to-day work, We help brainstorm that, think about practical application and implementation, and support along the way. And what we're thinking is that that will also build into our work plan. So when we hear what people are interested in doing, we can support that, facilitate it with our own energy and time, our ideas, and to really push that forward in a way that could be helpful and integrate the work that we're doing at the town. So I've already spoken with Joanne through Human Resources. We've had conversations back and forth. She's very supportive of the idea, in part because she feels like the town is already doing so many amazing things. This just brings awareness to that, solidifies it, and allows us to officially support and understand, again, how we might collaborate. So that is the point of it. No new funding requests, so there's nothing like that. It's completely voluntary. If someone doesn't want to participate, there's really no goal for that. We don't, they do not need to. But if someone's interested in learning how we might strengthen their work to make something become embedded in the day-to-day work that they are already doing, we would like to be able to do that as a task force. So that's the pledge program. Again, volunteer, no additional funding. We're giving our time and energy to support the idea.
Thank you. So I'm going to open this up for board discussion.
Somebody wants to talk? I'll talk. This sounds great. It sounds like it's low lift on behalf of the people around. I mean, it's a lift for you guys because you're going to be working with the folks who would want to step forward and get support. But
I just have a question. So I think about in my professional work life, I have to make goals every year, and one I have to make a diversity, equity, inclusion goal. But it's up to me to decide how I want to prioritize my year and the goal that I'll make for myself. My manager reviews it to make sure it's appropriate and attainable, but then it's up to me. Is that how this would work as well, or would this be departmental?
I'm not sure we know that yet. I think it comes down to who basically volunteers to be a part of this. If a department or a team wanted to collectively have a group goal, I don't think we would say no to that in any way. And I do think it really does fit into this idea of you would draft your own performance goals and follow through. But I think sometimes it's hard for people to have an overarching goal like make something inclusive, And so we can add our expertise to help solidify what you might do, build on the ideas that you already have, just really input that. So we wouldn't be following up. It would still be your performance management. In another kind of world, you might have a reward system that would support that. So management might see this, or you all might see this and have a reward or a award down the road where you're looking at inclusivity, sustainability, something that connects back to the town values. But again, that's not prescriptive on our end. It's just really at this point to get something started, to heighten the work that people are already doing, to bring clarity to that, and also for us to collectively know what the town is doing so we can further strengthen the mandate and then really think about what, how we build moving forward.
This question would be more for Steve. How does this impact the union negotiations and stuff like that by putting some more stuff onto town employees and it's not a union contract?
It's volunteer.
I don't think it would affect the union contracts because it's department heads that are going to put together the work plans. So I don't think we're asking, firefighters or laborers to take this pledge. It's the management that's going to be taking the pledge because they're the ones putting together, their annual work plans. They're the ones making the decisions about how things are progressing. So I don't think that's a factor.
You just said the word mandate. Can you go back and repeat that sentence and what you meant by it?
I'm sorry.
You said to further solidify this mandate.
Well, I mean it in terms of the mission. So I'm using those kind of words interchangeably. Our mission, as you have approved it, is to educate, engage, and empower the communities of Belchertown to strengthen and uphold a culture of belonging and respect for diversity. So we're just trying to embed that. And again, going back to your point, this is within the scope of people's existing job descriptions and roles. So it's not that we're asking a further ask. We're really just trying to refine what they do may be more inclusive. But again, if someone decides that this is not something that they want to prioritize or it's just not part of how they see their work, we would not be engaging with them. It would be completely voluntary based on the fact that they would like to support this. So there's a lot of room for flexibility, but if it works, we basically will create something that's embedded in terms of the values of the town being more inclusive, because it won't be about someone as an individual. It'll just start to be part of what happens as a regular part of someone's roles and responsibilities, the job description. It will evolve. And I think that, again, it's not pushing an agenda. It's already doing what people are doing, but giving clarity around how to make something more inclusive for the town, based, again, on this desire to educate, engage, and empower.
So I have a few issues with this. The first issue that I have is this is a volunteer program, understood, but I would be concerned for any employee if it's supported by management, it's supported by a department head. I would be concerned if I'm an employee that doesn't want to partake in that. How am I going to feel if I don't partake in it? What are my coworkers going to think? What is my manager going to think? Or is it subconsciously going to be in the back of their head during my review? Mm-hmm. So that's one concern that I have. Also, DEI is an ideology that we do not all subscribe to. I think that we, as a community, all subscribe to making sure that we're good humans and that we're treating people equally and with respect and so on. But DEI in itself is not an ideology that I personally agree with, and I have to believe that there are other employees in the community that would feel similarly. And then thirdly, I mean, we're going to put a training plan on our department heads. Our department heads, and we talk about this constantly throughout the year, are stretched thin enough. I don't want to see more tasks put upon them at this time.
Can you speak to that?
I think I come back to this idea of, like, first of all, we're not asking anybody to do anything, a training, or we're mandating something. That's not what we're asking to do. If there's a training budget for police officers and they want to do a training on gender-based violence, and our job could be to support how they might make that more inclusive, then that would be something that I would work with Chief Bakunis to do. But I would not be subscribing to say, you need to do a training on gender-based violence or this or that. I don't feel like that's my job. But if there is a training, we can offer our expertise in terms of what they may want to consider. But again, I'm not mandating those things. They're not prescriptive. It would come down really to what that individual wanted to do. Mm-hmm. In regards to whether or not people feel pressured to do this, again, I feel like there's a lot of flexibility here, so I don't know how we shape it or frame it. I think that this is a PR issue in terms of how we do it, because I'm not trying to say that the values of the town are this. I do know that we have a statement in terms of what we're trying to do, and we think that this is one way to do that. Without a budget, without a sense, like how do we do this if we're not collaborating with people who already have these kind of elements within their job? So that's just a question back to you all. Mm-hmm. We feel like this, why we're presenting this is we feel like it's already happening. It's just solidifying for those people who are doing it mm-hmm. to give support. Mm-hmm. So in your case, mm-hmm. with your manager, you mentioned already that you have something that's built in. That's part of your yearly annual performance. Mm-hmm. It's not an additional expectation.
No, and I design what I think I am capable of doing and feel it's comfortable to me.
So if you wanted our support, we would support that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As I understood it when I read it, an individual within a department could decide they want to do this.
Sure.
Is that correct?
I think I see people from the library here, so I want to just look around and say, because the library was a conversation, right? We know that for example, for us with the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force, the library comes up quite a bit because they bring in speakers who talk about different topics. There's different community events. So that's a place where we would naturally collaborate. You're already doing it. So the question mark is, how can we do this in a way that, really fits a great scope of the community within Belchertown? Mm-hmm. And one of the things I find about this work is that actually when we make these small changes, it has a great impact on everyone in the community. I think about things like flexible work arrangements. Originally, that was supposed to be for working moms, but the reality is that it supports everyone to have flexibility in their work, regardless of how they identify or whether they have a child or they don't. It really just creates an environment where there's like flexibility and that this becomes normalized. So I'm thinking about it in that same kind of way. Often we find that a small tweak is helpful. I offered some suggestions, but that's because I was trying to conceptualize what potentially could happen, not because these things have to happen. So, one example here is to I think we said the select board members to have really very critical issues be identified first in an agenda so that more people can be here. If they have children or they have an elderly person to care for at home, this might be an issue for them. More accessibility in terms of online support and making sure that people know that that's an option makes it more accessible for everybody in the community. But equally, it makes it accessible for people who might have, be using a wheelchair, might be having mobility issues, might have their car have broken down this week, for example, mine. So this was I'm oh, right, I could have called in. That would have allowed this to be a more accessible space for me to engage tonight.
Somehow I believe that happened to you.
It did happen today.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm just simply saying, when we make these small tweaks, we find that they actually really support the full community of people, and that they start to normalize things that we feel like just make life easier for everyone and make things more inclusive. So again, 100% volunteer.
So I have two questions.
Okay.
One of them's more of a statement with is this true or false? And the other is an actual just question. So true and false. Yep. I am the daughter of a teacher. You can tell, right? True, false, question. Anyway, when I read the proposal, what I came away with is an individual in a department can decide on their own, you know what, I'm going to add this. Or a department head could or not do this, that was okay. And if there was buy-in from everybody in the department, that they would do it as a department. So that I read it as, if you want to do it, great. If you don't want to do it, we respect that.
Well, that's an assumption. We respect that.
That's going to bring to my. I'm going to get my second. I have a second question. I have a question of this. So, is that true or false?
I think everything you have said is true.
Okay.
100%.
So it could be a department head, could be an individual, can opt in, can opt out.
What I would really like to do is why we're coming here today is because when we presented this to Joanne, for example, and I don't know her family name, Joanne M., who's the HR person,
Yes.
she said, great, let's think about where this could go. And I think that's where we are right now. Let's think about where it could go. And I think as issues come up, we're going to have to address them and really figure out how to make sure that this maintains the integrity and that people don't feel pressured into doing something that they're not comfortable doing. We really are trying to support respect, and that goes across the gamut in terms of that piece. I also know that people
Why do you have to put it under the label DEI though? Why can't you ask for a pledge that we just all treat each other with professionalism equally, with respect, no matter who they are? Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Why do we have to put a label on something? We should just be good people to one another across the board.
I agree with that. We should just be good people across the board. I'm coming tonight as a representative and a member of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Task Force, so that's the starting point. But that doesn't mean that I don't agree with you that this is an issue of professionalism and respect. It is also a sense of what kind of town do we want to live in. And I, as a community member, have really strong feelings about the diversity of opinions that exists in this town. You said I'm the child of a teacher. I'm the child of a livestock auctioneer. I have a very clear sense of differentiation in my life. I really respect that people are where they are, and my job is not to change people's minds. It's to create an environment where people can be themselves and be respected. So whether we talk about that in terms of diversity or we talk about it as values around just basic respect, it's really, for me, that baseline. But I'm coming today under the work that we're doing under the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Task Force. but equally I could be coming as a volunteer of the town or saying, I have an idea. I really would like to promote respect across the board. This is one way I think we can do that. It's embedded into the work that people are already doing, and it really just highlights the flexibility that people have to make their work more meaningful for the town and for the community members here.
So here's the question.
And just note 20 minutes.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. The question is, because it's not mandated, how do you evaluate success? How do you quantify whether or not this has been successful? And then the second thing is would a employee or department head be evaluated any differently if they chose to do this or chose not to do this?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that second question, whether someone would be evaluated differently. If this is in the context of your job and you do your job successfully and you get people to come to your library events, or you have greater numbers of people from the community that are regularly attending your select board meetings because of X, Y, and Z, we might be able to take some kind of measures and to clarify who's doing what and why. But ultimately, I see that as being success as part of your job. I'm not sure it would come back to saying it's because you made this pledge or that pledge. So the flexibility is still with management in terms of what they reward and how they reward that. In terms of the people who work with us, we'll help create some kind of metrics for them personally. If I get 10 more people in the room this year, whatever that is for them, that would be the starting point, because it's not necessarily something that will reflect in a job promotion, but rather their personal satisfaction of saying, I made this commitment, I had a pledge to do this, and this was the outcome. So, it's going to be personal, because this starts at what motivates people is typically personal, but also equally, this is still within fully the context of someone's job. So the roles and responsibilities are already laid out.
I just want to make a side note. I know this is related to employees, but if this were to be implemented, I think we could learn a lot about how we could widen our interest to people who want to join committees, because we have so many vacancies and openings, and I can't help but wonder if we're not thinking deeply enough about what people need to be involved. So maybe we could learn from this.
Or maybe even look at different publications that people might be reading that we aren't currently, reaching out to.
Oh, sure. You mean like for marketing purposes?
Yes.
I thought we were going to academic journals, and I don't know if I'm ready.
No one's never going to pass the abstract.
Abstracts.
Any other questions on this? Is this something we're ready to vote on?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, if we are voting, is it the pledge that we're voting on?
Yes.
I feel like, I guess I'm not ready to vote. I would like to see it come to like HR and department heads and get a mandate or letter saying it's optional, listed on there for employees, like a true letterhead, if that makes sense.
I want to know how employees would feel about this, because whether it's mandated or not, I'm concerned about retaliation with something that a department head, I shouldn't say department head, just a manager in general, if they're thinking in the back of their head, wow, this employee is not meeting this voluntary milestone, subconsciously I'm going to give them a mark on their annual review or whatever it is. I'm just concerned. I mean, we have enough to think about right now. We're in the middle of budget season. We've got employees that are spread really thin. Why are we adding one more thing to this? And I'm concerned about that subconscious retaliation going on.
Steve, can you speak to any of this?
Well, I think the conversation has generated a few questions in my mind. And maybe part of that's my own reading of this, but when we talked about town employees, I wasn't envisioning every level of employee taking this pledge.
Right.
I'm thinking the work planners would be involved in this, because there's people who don't plan their own day out. They get an assignment at the beginning of the day. So how do they pledge to something that they have no control over? So I think we need to work that out. I also wasn't clear, and I just tried to reread parts of it, that there would be it said that the DEI committee would be there to assist those work planners, but I didn't quite gauge that there would be, it almost sounds like what you're speaking about is a department head or a work planner would submit something to the DEI for approval.
Oh.
I thought it was just,
No, I don't think that's.
so
It's
what
not
I
formalized
like
in that
about
way.
this is it's tied to the core values of our community and our employees. I truly believe that. And I think sometimes DEI gets a very narrow definition that people are uncomfortable with, but it's a lot broader than that. And I like the fact that it would give our employees credit for things they're already doing. I don't think adding the work to our department heads or our work planners is practical. But if they're already doing these things and they can get credit for it and bring it to light so people see it, like, for example, what we do at town meeting to make sure that parents can be there or elderly can be there. Having those vans available, having daycare available. I mean, if that's what we're putting in this definition of DEI, we're doing that.
And I support that. I supported
Right.
the daycare and the vans at town meeting. I feel like we should be taking these actions when we can. I just don't want to see them prescribed, because not everybody can meet those expectations. Not everybody necessarily buys into that ideology, and that's okay. That's their opinion, whatever they feel. But we should be trying to do these things when we can, but I don't want to see it prescribed.
I don't think you're prescribing it.
I mean, my pitch
We've
is
got a written pledge
we
right
will
here.
not prescribe specific pledges. I mean, that's the language. We will not prescribe specific pledges, but we're available to assist employees in brainstorming ideas and providing guidance on how to implement their pledges effectively. So I would, if we were having a conversation and you said, I'm on this board and I want to think about how to make this more accessible for single parents, then that's our starting point, because you're coming to me saying, this is something that I'm interested in doing. What are the ways in which we could potentially implement that? What are the small steps that we could do? And you may already be doing a number of them. So we'd be building on that, shifting slightly your lessons learned from your experience, your lived experience, and then you say, I'm going to do one activity this year that supports that. That's what we're talking about by a pledge.
But
So-
alternatively, if you've got department heads, you had said department heads would put together work plans. So if my department head comes to me and says, this is what I would like you to do, or can you give me some ideas of what you can commit to do voluntarily this year? That puts me as the employee in a position where I'm going to wonder to myself, if I don't do something specifically, am I going to be judged at my annual review?
I think I heard Steve say that's what he thought when he read that it would be a work plan. But what I'm hearing you say is that you're opening this up as an opportunity for town employees to come to the DEI task force for support.
That's the way we're pitching it.
And
So if
I
haven't done
support that. What if that is the case, and I support that, and I would make a motion to support the DEI pledge program.
So I think it's really important to say, in brainstorming these possible pledge examples, it's really just to try to build the concept and make it come alive as to how it could happen. Again, it is not prescriptive. I am not going to say, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and you're going to be judged against that on your performance review. That's not my intention or my job. I'm a volunteer who works at a task force trying to come up with an idea that I think is sustainable for the town with no working budget. That's the reality that we're in, and I'm thinking, what better way to do that than to work with people who want to do something. So it's not to say it has to look like this. It's not to say you will do X, Y, and Z. It is really to brainstorm what we're already doing and how to really, as Steve had said, highlight the fact that these things are going on in the town and to build on them. Because I think great ideas build on great ideas. It's the world shapes of saying, I take this little bit and add that, and I could do something different. And I feel like we're in a situation where if people are already doing a lot of this, then let's bring that to light, and let's also think about how to support them. And then that will also give us some guidance in terms of how we give our time and energy and support the kind of collaboration and partnership that I think is really important for task force and for other volunteer groups. supporting the town. I want this to be meaningful, and I really am struggling with how it is that we can do that without an operating budget, without a plan. We're saying we're going to do X event. We really do have to work with people who want to work with us to make these things happen and to have it be more inclusive overall for the town. So that's the, I don't know, that's where my heart is coming from in terms of the idea, and hopefully, we can start small and see how this goes. And the idea is just to pilot something, a small group of people. If it doesn't work, then it's HR is, working with them as well. People can scratch it. It's like they can just say, it should be no consequence for someone not following through. But if we've gone through this whole process and someone's engaged, I'd like to see that there could be a potential outcome that's positive. But if they can't do it for whatever reason, then they don't. And I think that's really our starting point.
So there is a motion on the table, but I'm also cognizant of the issues
Well,
you've
nobody
brought.
seconded.
I think it just needs clarity.
I did
more.
move.
I don't think
I'm
there's
so
enough.
sad.
I'm so sorry. I
No,
missed
no,
it.
that's-
We're also at 30
I just
minutes,
wanna
just
say
FYI.
That there was, but I want to hear.
It just needs more clarity. I don't. If I'm confused, employees are going to be confused. It's not clear to me the whole process.
What do you need to make it
I guess when
clear?
they say it doesn't cost money, you say that, but it does cost money because it does cost man hours and HR to do this. It does cost employees during work hour days to do this stuff during the work hours. So it is costing the town money. What are they going to do? Maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's an hour. I don't know that time frame, but that's costing the town money. That could be patching a road somewhere. So that's the part I would like. How much time is this going to invest in? Like, what? I mean, there is a cost. And you say there's no cost. There is some kind of cost of man hours.
So, do you have a suggestion or?
It's just to kind of further say, I feel like within every job description, there are multiple ways to do your work. Multiple. That's why it's important to have the right person in the job, because they can go in any direction. And I think it's really important for us to say that, if it's 10 minutes or if it's that, really the gist is I'm not asking someone to work outside of their respected, declared job description and roles. This would not fly. Management would say, no, we're not doing that. That's not part of your job. That's also a possibility, a very strong possibility. So I'm not pitching something that's absolute. This would be a conversation, but it goes back to what Steve was saying, is that it embeds the values of respect in our town. And I think that is a worthy starting point. So I just would implore that yes, everything takes time. Brainstorming your work plan takes time, but it's an issue of you're doing it. This is part of it. You are doing it. So how do we kind of funnel this into a way that has the potential to embed these values that we talk about as a town and that we want to reinforce?
So, Steve, where are you on this at this point?
So I too am a little bit confused, because I thought I heard you say earlier that this would be something that would be incorporated into the 2026 work plan.
Well, it would be, and if someone pledges, I don't know your name, so I'm sorry,
Could
I
I
can't
just
reference
stop
back.
for a minute?
Yeah, let me finish what I was going to
I'm
say,
sorry.
because if we're talking about weaving this into work plans, we are not talking about staff-level employees. They don't create their own work plans. So that's where I'm getting confused. And to John's point earlier about the unions, now this could become an issue. We have not approached the unions.
So what I'm going to suggest is that the DEI task force work with Joanne and Steve to iron this out so that we can vote in good conscience on this initiative.
Okay.
I think you explained it well, and I truly appreciate you and the work that you and the committee are doing. I think people have brought up some really excellent questions, concerns, comments. I think if anyone is in disagreement with what I'm suggesting, please let me know.
So just to make sure I'm clear, so they will go work together and then come back to
And
us.
absolutely come back so that we can vote on this.
So it would be really helpful for me for you all to kind of just collectively come up with questions that might guide that conversation, so that we're really using our time well. We address the concerns that you have. I can get better at the pitch. Because I think part of this, too, is that this has been a conversation for a long time. There's different people who have been adding different things. We're wanting to be flexible. But in that flexibility, there's also not clarity. So I think this would be helpful to try to really just kind of figure out what it is that you feel like are the main issues. We'll do our best to address them, and maybe there'll be more voices next time to also be able to share their ideas as well, and maybe do
So may I make another suggestion that that we funnel our questions? Should they go to you, Steve, or should they go to the chair of the DEI task
Why
force?
don't you have them sent to me? And
Excuse me?
Why don't you have them sent to me, and then I can work with, as the
So,
liaison for the DEI.
Jen is liaison to the DEI task force. I think that's a great idea. Anybody disagree with that? Okay, so send all questions. When would you like them by?
Oh, well, I'll be good. January.
Wait, you're not going to be here.
No.
That's right.
Can the committee wait until
Certainly,
Jen
I
comes
don't
back?
think we're waiting. I don't think we have a meeting until January,
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Okay,
that
great.
should work fine.
All right.
But thank you very much for the opportunity.
And
I really
thank you.
appreciate it today. Thanks for the questions.
Thank you
We're
so
gonna get
much.
there. All right.
Great, thank you
Yeah,
very much.
we'll get there. Let's get the
Look forward to
conversation and
seeing
the
you in
document to come
January.
together.
Thanks again. Okay, we have the Energy and Sustainability Committee. Welcome. Would you state your name and your role?
I'm John Picard, Chair of the Energy and Sustainability Committee. Thank you for the appointment time you've given us. The Energy and Sustainability Committee started in January of 2021. Right now, Whitney is our liaison, and we have ad hoc members, Linda Ledoux and Eric LeBeau. We're a 7-member committee. We recently lost 4 members over the last year, and we have 4 new members that have joined. So I thought this was a good time to have us reintroduce ourselves and kind of talk a little bit about, how we align with all that's going on in the town around energy and sustainability. So, thank you for that.
I'm going to turn this over to Whitney as well. So, you're the liaison, so.
Sure. I think everyone already knows all the great work you're doing, but do you mind just highlighting again all that you all have done over the last 18 months?
Yeah, let me do the intros first,
Great.
and then and then you'll hear what people are working on, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
So I'm currently the chair of the committee. I've been with the committee since the inception, since 2021. I'm a retired industrial and systems engineer and project manager, and I was involved with getting the Belchertown Community Energy Choice Municipal Aggregation Program up and running. It took several years to go through all that and work through all that, but it's a nice program that's beneficial to a lot of people in town and businesses, saving both some cost and environmental benefits as well. With that, I think what we'll do is we'll go through and introduce the committee members that are here. We'll start off with the other officers, and then we'll go to the new members. So take it away, guys.
Would you like us to come up or just stand up and introduce ourselves?
Yeah, whatever you fancy.
Good evening. I'm Chris Benbackus. I'm the vice chair of the committee. And I've been working with John on the Energy Choice program and the rest of the committee for the last 3 years. And my background is in energy efficiency and sustainable energy.
You want to mention a little bit about the solar roof thing?
Yeah, we're this is fun. Yeah, we're kind of in the preliminary phase of evaluating potential solar projects for the town, for some of the school buildings and municipal buildings, to see if we can generate some more revenue for the town.
Thank you.
I'm Patricia Krebs, but I've been on the committee since 2021. I'm working on the transportation or EV chargers installation with Mike Petishnek, who is not here today, and I am a co-clerk.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Kathy Bernard, and I'm co-clerk with Patricia. I joined the committee on January of this year, January 25. I'm a retired French teacher, 20 years, retired from Belchertown High School. interested in helping the committee continue their good work. Primarily what I'm doing is evaluating events that we've been involved in, local events and future events that we can outreach to the community so that they know the good work that we're doing and educate them on our energy and sustainability within the town.
Welcome. Okay.
Hi, I'm Reed Collins. I also started around the same time as Kathy, just under a year ago. I'm mostly working on the public outreach and education side of things, so writing articles for the newspaper as well as the online newsletter. And my background is in electrical engineering.
Welcome.
I'm Sam Hunt. I am currently a senior at UMass studying natural resource conservation. I'm a resident of Belchertown. I joined the committee in August, and I'm relatively new, and so I'm starting to establish new points of action from our climate resilience and sustainable growth plan that the town made in 2022 or 3, which has included exploring collaborations with the Hampshire County Food Policy Council as of recently, as well as initiating a mapping exercise of Belchertown's resilient and connected landscapes to promote ecological diversity and resilience within the town.
Welcome. That's great.
And also, Rich Prager, who couldn't make it tonight, he joined as well in August of this year. He is a retired high school teacher. He has a degree in forestry. He's a member of the Friends of the Belchertown Greenway, and he's also on the transportation subcommittee on our committee. So that's us. So thank you. So we're trying to, with the new members, and I think in general, we're trying to establish, the projects that we are working on. We're aware of all the things that are going on in the town. Well, not all of them. There's a lot. There's the climate resilience and sustainable growth plan that was put together. There's a lot of good recommendations in there. There's the greenhouse gas inventory that was put together. There's a lot of good recommendations in there to work on. There's the green communities, which has also webinars and meetings and things to attend. And there's also the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission has their Clean Energy and Action Group that has meetings and webinars and things to work on as well. And of course, the DOER has a lot of initiatives too. Chris and I just attended some of the meetings with, they're doing solar siting, new regulations for the towns to use as guidelines. We're involved in that. But we don't always know, what we should be going to and what we should be attending, because there's a lot out there. And as mentioned earlier, the town department heads that are involved with some of these things, and Doug Albertson as well, there's just so much coming at them. They're so, so how do they keep track of everything? How do they, how do we all integrate? Just recently I had, just a couple of days ago, there was the Mass Clean Cities Coalition newsletter, and they just recently launched the Municipal Climate Resilience Playbook. Doug Albertson actually had me attend some of those earlier meetings. But there's a lot of good things in there too. So, I guess the question is what could we take on? What's being done by other departments, by other groups in town? What's not being done? How do we all manage that, collectively manage that? And I'm not necessarily looking for answers tonight, but I just want to bring this to the awareness of the select board and, see if there's, a better way. Another example is there was, in 2023, there was the select board voted to adopt the decarbonization commitment plan. And I don't know to set clear goals and targets, but I don't know what those are. I don't know where those are. So, and I don't know who's working on those. Those are the kinds of things. So, we're open to advisement, and we would like to advise as well, make it go both ways, but we're still trying to find out the best way of doing all that. So we're open to any comments or suggestions.
Whitney?
I know Jen already has a question.
You could tell,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
First of all, thank you. you have this amazingly diverse board, like it's like you have packaged together. I don't even know how you did that. Very, that was super impressive in and of itself. I was so pleased to hear you mentioned so many sections of the master plan that you guys are tackling. Thank you so much for paying attention to the community plan. I don't know where the decarbonization commitment is. I'm not sure who's responsible for that. You just brought up so many good things, and I think that some of the challenges that you brought up are challenges that we face as a community entire. All of the groups and committees and departments working on different items and not really necessarily collaborating together. So how can we do that better as a community is something that I've been thinking about in completely different topics. So, but the fact that we have even tonight, like 4 different boards, here in attendance and hearing all of this, I think was really eye-opening for me. I don't know how you guys feel about it. But, I don't have an answer or a solution, but I just appreciate the conversation.
And we know it's tough to manage because, just from when we have a chance to talk with, like with Linda or Eric on some of these things, and we'll bring something to them, but with all they got going on,
Right.
it gets
They have so much
buried,
going
and it gets you lose traction. And so how do we keep things going, that kind of thing? We're trying to do the best we can, but we're open to ideas.
Jen and I just had this discussion today and shared the same frustration of, we have this this strategic plan. But people aren't looking at it, which doesn't make anyone a bad person. Right. What it says is, that there are ideas, you can benefit from understanding what those ideas were in the master plan, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you're prescribed to do. It's a starting point. And I think that, understanding that might be a way to get people engaged, because we don't want to say, okay, we have a strategic plan, so it's already been done. And, that means why bother even doing it? That's not what's happening. It's let's benefit from the wisdom of others who've looked at this and add our own and make it even better. And we're talking about how we get that message across and how we make that information more accessible. I mean, one of my ideas was don't call it that name anymore. Calling, there's a working paper on this. Would you like to take a look at it? Whatever is going to get people invested in at looking at what others have already done. Others who have expertise, who have thought about it. So it's not negating new voices or new ideas. It's simply saying, here's what happened prior. How can you build on it? So we share your frustration, and Jen and others are working on. Do you want to talk about that?
What am I reading? What, the implementation
yes.
matrix? I mean, the implementation matrix is supposed to knit all of the pieces of the master plan together, and so.
That's something that's being worked on.
So, it's supposed to be filterable by, who's responsible and what departments it's to touch, because there's a lot of intersection in the different sections, but it's hard to put it together. So,
but again, it is not prescriptive.
Correct.
It is. Here's what folks who thought about the same thing have said about this. And whomever's touching it from there, that you can be creative, you can do more, but you should know that people have already thought about it.
It's not to say that people aren't working on some of these things, like the MVP
No,
group that's doing some of this, that's kind of tied into that. And Doug's doing some of that, and sometimes he attends some of the meetings, sometimes Linda does, sometimes sometimes we do.
Right.
But it's not really. we're saying the same thing, so.
So we're not going to solve this
No,
tonight.
no.
But
Just wanna
I
bring
hope
awareness.
what you're hearing
It
is
sounds like some good, some good things.
we're talking about it. We know that this is an issue.
I don't want to take up all the air in the room, but one of the ideas that we're trying to work on for like the creative economy sector is to put together like a town hall of sorts and bring a bunch of different groups that maybe have intersecting like projects going on into a space, and then like talk about what each group is doing, just like you did tonight, and then present some of the things that you're tackling and get people to sit around and workshop that. A summit.
Exactly.
And so workshop those projects, and then you get some little bit of engagement, you get people's wheels turning, and maybe they'll join a committee or two or something of that sort. So.
But that's going to happen after New Year, when Jen comes
When
back.
Jen's back.
Jen comes back.
Refreshed.
This is
Refreshed and ready to tackle the world.
crack, so, yeah.
Other thoughts, Whitney? I keep going to you because you're the liaison.
Well, I know, but another thought I had, which again is not a solution or a good idea for tonight because it's just more work for us all later, but I keep thinking about how we have so many committees in town and we're all working as though we're verticals. It's like we're all doing this work very much within our lanes, but so much intersects. And if we could start working more like a network, which I think is part of what this matrix is going to do, there's so much complementary work. And I don't know if we have a system like this in place. This is just kind of coming to me. But if we had like a CRM, a customer relationships management system, where we could actually log projects and label them, we'd be able then to look and see how things are touching each other and work together better. And maybe then even we could understand each other's work.
What a great idea.
Great.
Does everybody know CRM?
Yeah, so
Customer Relationship Management.
System. But something like that, and that might actually go along well with this matrix, because the summit, which Jen is brainstorming with the creative economy, it will bring people together into a space, but then it'll be finite. So how do we keep it going and continue as we are doing such good work to be able to share constantly in
Are
a
you
live
part
time?
of that? Are you part
I
of
joined
this?
my first meeting.
Okay.
Creative economy.
So yes, I think I will be part
Bring
of
the
that.
CRM piece into it. That
Maybe we
is,
can find a cheap, free way to do it. Maybe it'll just be a spreadsheet.
well, I'm
at
just
first.
saying that concept that's a
I would
really
personally
good one.
love to go and see all the work that your committee's doing and maybe how it's in line with MVP work, and then how could we come together and have a synergy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're a little concerned that we don't want to miss things like, well, for this solar roof project. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not something that we came across. It was somebody from outside came and offered some proposals, and we got involved with looking at them because we're trying to help out some of the building and grounds and the DPW.
Exactly. Yeah.
To give them some of the background information on that. But, we didn't know, I didn't know about the SMART 3.0. They came out with new incentives. SMART is the Solar Massachusetts Renewable Target Initiative that the DOER has. And they came out with some new initiatives that, incentives rather, that really makes it
Cost effective.
yeah, really cost effective
Right.
and beneficial
Word.
for the town to look into this. So
Right.
we're starting to look into that. But we didn't bring it up, and
No.
it didn't come from anybody. It just came from the outside. So luckily there was a source. We got started on it. So I'm kind of happy about that.
No, it's so helpful. And, we're talking so much about our capital improvement needs and buildings that need work. So if we could be tapping into committees who are coming up with creative ideas or finding creative ideas like this, maybe these are small solutions that can really help the
Yeah.
larger problem.
And I'm assuming you know about the Eco One Stop that they just instituted. Did
Oh, pardon
Doug
me?
talk to you about the Eco One Stop?
Eco.
Eco.
No.
So the state has like a new eco. I don't even know what.
Oh, is that the
program?
yeah, that's the
It's a grant funding program.
yeah, that's the is that something they just launched? That was the
Yeah, like the one stop for the rest of the
yeah,
grants
yeah,
are
right.
all
Yeah,
like
yes,
you know
yes.
one date where you submit to like
Right.
9 different programs. So the state just put together like an eco one. I don't know what's involved. I don't know what projects or I don't know what grants are under that umbrella. But
Any comments from this side of the table?
Great job. I like to see those chargers work.
I know. They look
The
good.
biggest comment I'm getting from townspeople, so it'd be good to get those chargers working. And get some more of them. They want more.
yeah.
The last time I saw energy and sustainability, you were talking about the paint legislation program.
Oh.
Do you recall that?
Yeah.
What happened with that?
That was, yeah, we had somebody come in as a guest speaker, and I don't know.
I think we signed the, we
There was
signed
something-
the
We signed
A letter
that.
was generated that came through the select board.
We
for
signed
that.
off on that.
Right.
It's
But it-
probably with the state, I would think, at
Right.
this
Yes,
point.
with the state,
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's with the state. To John's point, I did get an update today from Mike, and Patricia's been working on the EV chargers.
Awesome.
They're ready to go with the exception of the credit card readers not working. So people with an app can
Okay.
log in and charge, but the credit card readers, so we're not quite ready to launch yet. We're hoping to get everything 100%. So they're very close. They've been working very hard on it. That project's been ongoing now, Pat, for 5 years?
Yeah, in the beginning, yeah.
So it's been a long haul.
But
we're
it
there.
sounds like the end is in
End is
sight.
near.
Oh,
Yeah.
can
And
they
that
go
was-
into Finerty and pay you cash?
That was fully, no, we don't accept cash for charging.
Kiosk out there.
You know, that project was fully grant funded.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
something that this committee worked very hard to get. But
Thank
I
you.
think, you know, I just want to throw a plug out for this committee because I think people have forgotten and are taking it for granted. But this is the committee that was instrumental in bringing Belchertown Energy Choice to our doors. And every time I get an electric bill now in December and January, and I see the rate that is on there, and I realize that this committee is what got that going. It's 11 cents or something. You know, and that's a 3-year deal. I can't say enough how much that did for all of our departments, you know, the MVP, you know, the people in town in need, you know, that we now have an affordable electric bill. Because those rates were going up close to 30 cents in the winter.
Yeah.
And now we're consistent right across the board, so. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it wasn't, we weren't fishing for comments, we just.
You do deserve one.
It's always nice to get him, though, right?
I think people have forgotten that Belchertown Community Energy Choice was a
Yeah.
offshoot of the Energy and Sustainability
Yeah,
Committee.
oh, yeah, yeah.
So people who want to know more about it can go on the website and they can learn more.
Will you keep us up to date on the solar? I'm really
I know.
interested in
Yeah.
that.
Everything's preliminary right now, we're, you know, we're working with the 2 department heads and Steve right now to
Tadjil
See what
would be
we
a
can do
great
with it.
place for that.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't forget, you can opt up to 100% renewable,
fix the roof.
you know, you go on that program, opt up to 100%
Okay,
renewable
one at
energy.
a time, one at a time.
Put a plug in there for that.
What I will say is, Whitney, could you just update the board
On the
when they aren't coming in, just of what they're working on and what they want us to think about as a board and the way we can support them?
Sure, and John, thank
Okay.
you so much for your communication. You've been very communicative.
Yeah, we try to funnel stuff through, but a lot of times, things come up, like there might be a meeting, or, and it's, by the time the notice comes in, and, you know, it's already like gone by, or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Things move fast, so you can't.
Especially those grants.
Well, what we're really looking
job.
for is how we can support you. And so,
Thanks, Dawn.
you know, we're not giving you answers tonight. All we're doing is basically saying we feel you. But I think with Whitney apprising of what's going on, us of what's going on, and if you would continue to come back, and also if there are ways we can help, let us know.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to meet all of you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, John.
Okay, and now we have the Family Center Committee.
Oh, sorry, we got to hear Jen.
Okay, we're continuing the meeting. Okay, great. Welcome. Can you state who you are and what you represent?
My name is Jennifer Whitehead. I am a member of the Belchertown Family Center Committee. And this is Natasha.
Natasha Martin, Chair of the Family Center Committee.
Welcome.
We have other members of the committee here, and we do have a few citizens that I think would also like to have a chance to speak to. I
Okay.
don't know if they should go first.
This is your party, so what I'll do is say that, you know, I'll open comments to the people who are with the Family Center. So this isn't a general, this is for folks who are with the Family Center. and Whitney again. You want
Having a lot tonight.
What are they presenting on?
Well, the Family Center is coming tonight because they have it's not just a proposal. I think it's also an overview of the history of the good work that they've done for over 30 years in town. The community outreach, surveying they've done, programming they've done, and how they've touched the community in many ways. And I want to let them speak, but just from my perspective as still a relatively new town member, I very much have seen the work that they have done from having a physical space and still, after losing that space, still implementing programming. But it's not ideal. And so cutting to the chase, they like to talk about what the options are for a permanent space to be able to really regain their options and be able to do more for the community. And it is a need. People need social opportunities. People need financial support that's provided among the communities. There's a lot of good here. Everyone has in their packet the proposal that they've submitted. I realize we didn't set it up to share on the screen, but it will be attached after everything's published, and it is online right now. But I want to let you all speak about what you want to say. I know that we'll have questions for you, and then I have some prepared also.
So I think what I'll do is just explain the proposal part of what we have planned, and then if anybody wants to take a quick moment to speak about the Family Center and what it's meant about them, we could do that. So many of you know the room that we're talking about is what was the American Legion. So it's a room that's attached to the back of the senior center. It's already a space that is heated and has electricity and is cleaned on a regular basis. We approached the recreation department a few months ago to ask, because we'd heard that they were using that room for some things, to find out how much use it was getting. At the time, we were told that it was only used once a week for a square dancing group who rents the space. They used to rent the space over at the rec department, right across the road from it, but they like this room better, I think maybe because it's of the shape of it or whatever. And then a Girl Scout troop meets in there from time to time. Mm-hmm. These were exactly the things that the Family Center was already doing when we had usage of the space at 51 State Street. We were already sharing with 4-H and Scouts and, what's that?
The Girl Scouts were using that.
Yeah. And so we would open it back up to that same plan that we had then, that we oversaw the space. It was considered the Belchertown Family Center space, but we shared it with other communities other parts of the communities as long as they were covered under insurance, that kind of thing. So recently we found out that it might be being used a little bit more, but it certainly doesn't seem to be being used during the daytime, which is when we would mostly use it for playgroups. We are hoping that we can reconnect with the collaborative that offers playgroups in all of the different towns in the region. Right now, they are having to rent a space. They're spending money on renting at one of our churches. Then if they could move in and be back part with us the way they were when we were at the other building, they wouldn't have to rent, so that money would then be used towards paying the person that runs the playgroups or materials and supplies and things like that. That money, by the way, that I'm mentioning doesn't have anything to do with us, our town. This is through the collaborative and their grants, and I think they sent a letter in, the collaborative did, saying that they are very interested. I don't know if they gave you a ballpark idea of how much is spent in Belchertown by them every year.
No, I don't think so.
So I'm not going to guess because the number I have might not be right. But anyhow, if they then fell underneath our umbrella, that would, be bringing some money into our community that would provide services and support for families and young children, but not cost our taxpayers anything. Using the space isn't going to be any more expensive. As I said, it's already heated. There already electricity. The bathrooms are already bathrooms that other people in the building are using on a regular basis. So it would not be needing the upkeep of a building the way it was when we were at 51 State Street.
Right. Makes sense.
Okay.
Are the
I'm going to open it to the board.
I'm sorry, a clarifying question. Are the toilets the right height in those bathrooms? So would you need they're not the right height?
They're adult height. They're not the height that we had when we were.
Would you need a modification?
Probably, so one of the bathrooms has quite a bit of storage space, so we might actually try to store, a potty seat that would go on top. But it's no different than families using the library toilet or the toilets here. They're average toilets. Can I just see if Beth would like to say something?
Sure.
Beth is one of the founding members of the Family Center. Do you want my seat?
So my name is Beth Jacobs-Goff, and sadly, many, many years ago, Jennifer said 30. I don't want to think it was 30 years ago, but approximately 30 years ago, a group of primarily women, I guess we had a couple men, mostly mothers who didn't have connection in town, got together, and it started with a Friday play group at the old town hall. And then we sort of outgrow that space, and then we moved to the Congregational Church, and then eventually we convinced the Select Board to give us the Franklin School Building. And so we operated out of the Franklin School Building for quite a long time. And then at some point in time, we were told that that building was going to be sold, which I don't think has ever happened. Is that correct?
I think it just sold.
Did it finally sell?
It just sold.
Right, but I mean, I'm talking
Right,
about
10 or so years ago.
12 years ago, maybe. So at any point, then they moved uptown. What I guess I want to speak to is the fact that when we were actively having families in, we were serving over 100 kids a week. We were, in lieu of the fact that right this minute, there's only 64 kids that are in the public preschool program because we don't have any more space than that. And so at the time that I was involved, Dick was the superintendent, we kind of looked at it as mutually helpful for us to have this going on because there were not preschool spaces. So we were taking the place, not exactly, but we did have curriculum. We had art, we had reading, we had the collaborative coming in with screening, early intervention screenings, with programming. I was one of the money people, so actually Jennifer too. We wrote grants so that we could have, art. We could have, I don't know. We had all kinds of children's kinds of programs. Zoo, what was it? Zoo on the go, or I don't know. The point is that there's a need, and that those relationships that were made over all those years ago still exist for a lot of people. And I will tell you, a lot of the original people are people who actively do a lot of community service in this town still. And the children that were helped, it was on a sliding scale, so if you didn't have any money, you still could come. We had basically a donation bucket, and the collaborative gave us money to do programming, some programming, and Stop and Shop used to give us our snacks. So we kind of hustled a little bit. So what it cost the town was to run the building, which they were heating anyway and insuring anyway because it was sitting there. So I guess what I'm saying is I think there's a need. I think that it helps out families that either can't send their children to preschool because they don't have the money, or there's no slots. That's the other issue, is the lack of slots. It gives families the opportunity to build this community and to build relationships, and it also prepares children for preschool. At one point in my life, I was a para in the preschool program here, and later on I was a teacher. I have a master's degree in science education. And I think that when I look at it from that perspective, all of these are little steps for children to be successful. So I don't know, I rambled a little bit because I didn't have anything prepared.
That's great, thank you.
But so I guess my point is I would absolutely support an ongoing family center. And the bigger the space, the better, though.
How many people are you serving now?
Well, we don't have a
isn't
space right now, so we
You have a
can't,
space right now? My understanding is you have a space right now.
we don't have a space.
We have an office at the rec department.
We have a
that use
storage
for
room.
storage.
I thought they were using a room. Am I misunderstood?
Well, there's space available for programming. I don't know how often you're programming that space for use.
I mean, we were open 3 days a week, and then occasionally on weekends or nights, depending on what we had funding for.
I guess I'm confused because there's a room in the rec that was being used and that's not being used.
They have a
They-
storage closet.
There's programming space, there's a storage closet, an office, and then there's programming space, which is for general use. So the family center has access to it, but other groups also use it.
But you haven't used any of that programming space that the town
We just used
provided?
it last weekend, yeah.
Yeah, we have used space throughout town, not just at the rec. We've used the auditorium here. The issue that we have is that it's very difficult to program for young children in spaces that are not set up for young children. It means that we have to bring all of the toys and supplies. It means that we are setting up arts and crafts on the floor for children because there are not tables that are the appropriate height for kids, and we can't have children kneeling and standing on chairs to do arts and crafts projects. It means that the bulk of our larger toys cannot be used because we physically cannot bring a play kitchen into a room across town or even across the building very easily for a couple of hours. What we are asking for is dedicated space that we are happy to share, but we need to be able to leave some supplies set up.
How many hours a day?
Right now, not many because we don't have a space.
How many
we-
hours, if you were to get a space, would you use this space?
That would depend a little bit on the collaborative as well.
Just the family center, not the collaborative, just the family center, because that's who's asking for the
Well,
space.
They funded the person that ran things.
At 51 State Street, Lori Allen was the family center director. She was employed by the collaborative. She ran the collaborative programming at the family center, and that was at the time kind of the bulk of what was happening.
I guess I'm confused because you have the collaborative that's working at a one space right now, who's running a program, and then we have the family center who wants to work with the collaborative, but you can't separate the two. I guess I'm seeing this as two different things. So you have the family center. I want to know what the family center is going to be using the space for. I could care less about the collaborative right now. I care about the family center.
But the collaborative is part of the family center.
But the collaborative is already working, you're telling me, at a different space.
Right, but they have to work their schedule around when that space is available. So their play groups are not at the ideal time. They're using that when the church has that space available for them to rent. If we were able to get this one room, then we would be able to work with the collaborative and work around their schedule. So when Lori Allen did run the play groups at the family center through the collaborative, it was 3 to 4 days a week, usually about 2 to 3 hours each time. And that's what we're hoping to get back to. But right now, we can't promise anything because...
Can you speak to what the anticipated need is, or the anticipated number of children you would serve?
Well, as Beth said, in the past, we were serving 50 to 100 children a week.
When was that?
Even when, she was not still involved, but even when we were with
I aged
Lori.
out of this because my kids got bigger.
And so what year was it 100 kids?
I was doing that 19, it's a long time ago, in 1998.
So we had a program right before the
Yes.
building was demolished. We had
Yes.
100 people show up in 2 hours.
That's what I need to hear.
Were they residents of Belchertown, the kids?
Most, but they don't have to be.
With our-
We have a lot, right now, our residents obviously go everywhere else for family centers since we don't have an active family center.
I guess with our population shrinking, with our school level age shrinking, I guess the space is my question. Like, how much space do you need? Square footage, do you have a rough idea? I need 50 square feet, I need 100 square feet. What is the square footage you need?
What was the square footage of the
We
Franklin
looked at it
School
more that we were trying to come up with a space in town that wouldn't cost any extra money that was already available. So, I mean, if you want to go for square feet, we would love to have the 3 classrooms back with the big room in the middle with bathrooms that fit children. I mean, ideally, that space was all being used. We had one huge room was our community closet. we have no idea how to ever bring our community closet back until we're given
Well, my
a
question
room.
then is, if you were serving 100 kids, that room can't fit 100 kids.
No, but we're talking about
Okay.
people
Staggered
come for an
or-
hour, then they leave. It's not every day. You know, certain people will be like, hey, I'll meet you there on Tuesday or whatever. Yeah. I mean, if we outgrew the space, then we would need to consider having, you know, a cutoff as to how, you know, once a certain number is in that room, nobody else would be allowed to join that day. And boy, what a great problem. And then we could come back to you and say, we're outgrowing this space. You know, here's the need in our town.
Right.
You know,
But
now we
again,
need
if
more.
you have 100 kids, I get now that you're not going to have them all at once, which is good, because that's a fire hazard. But would you, I'm putting words in your mouth, so let me put it this way. How would you ensure that 100 kids don't show up? Now I'm going to say, would you develop a sign-in or anything so that
We already do have sign-in and so forth when
So
people come.
once you hit 20 or whatever it is, then that it's full.
Yeah, and when I said 100 at that last program, I meant adults and children as well.
Okay.
And it was people coming to the closet for a half an hour, people coming to the music program that we had that day, people playing outside. Like it was,
Yeah.
you know, but of course, we also had 4 rooms and a whole fenced-in backyard. So there was a lot of room for all of those people.
The outdoor space was incredibly important for kids, and we realized that we can't replace what we had at the family center. We're not asking for that. What we're asking for is one room where we can leave, you know, a table that's sized appropriately for children, and a play kitchen, and, you know, maybe a couple of bins of toys set up. That will allow us to plan programming that's adequate for children in town. And I also think that we can't possibly stress enough how vital the community closet was for our families. We had diapers, we had, you know, infant feeding supplies, toys, books, you know, all kinds of supplies for kids. We had big gear, so we had families that would, we had grandparents that would come in and borrow a high chair, for example, and then bring it back when their grandkids left, because they were only in town for a week or two. We had, I mean,
Okay. So have you spoken to the town manager about this? Is he in support of this idea? You're right here.
Well, we sent the same information that we sent to you,
Yeah.
Steve, so. He was very supportive when we were in the building.
Well, I was there in 1998 when the Franklin Center building was given to them. So it goes without saying that I support the efforts of the Family Center.
Of course.
I think the issue that comes up is having dedicated space, because we do have a lot of programming space, and that space is always available. There's always space to program events. Dedicated space is a little bit more complicated, and we run into competing interests. As the board's aware, we recently did a survey about programming for children, you know, before school and after school programs, and that also seems to be a very hot topic. The teen center, you know, bringing that back for after school, having before school programs. And all of these could require dedicated space, and there's probably not a lot of overlap between the family center operations and before and after school programming, because now you're talking about school-aged kids.
Yeah.
And this is a drop-in program, not a drop-off. So the parents stay with the kids, and as they stated, the tables are smaller, there's toys, there's plastic play sets. So it's a totally different thing. So I think it becomes complicated, because now we need to look at this in the context of what programs are we going to offer, because having dedicated space now becomes a limiting thing. So what's the priorities? How can we make it work? What space is available for dedicated space? Because if we are going to try to run after school and before school programs, then we need to also keep that in mind, and that's something that, you know, has been a hot topic here in town. So it's a very complicated thing. I don't know, you know, certainly if we had a vacant building that we were heating and insuring and it didn't matter, then yeah, I would say, you know, that's an easy decision. What I can tell you is, we are wrapping up the living quarters for the firefighters. And the space that they're currently occupying is going to be renovated for our IT department. So the wing at the recreation building will be opening back up, but that was formerly the teen center. So again, it goes back to, are we going to have before and after school programs, or are we going to have a family center? Is that space something that we can identify in the future for dedicated space? That's something that we could talk about. But right now, we're still, we're a year out. By the time we get the firefighters out of their current space and get the renovations done for the IT to move into there, the servers are already there. But the rest of the building renovations for IT are not complete.
Esther, are you okay?
Yeah, I just have a comment if I could be recognized to speak on.
I thought it was a technical issue.
Her space is in
I can speak
that
on,
building.
for
As their
Esther
potential
PCG.
neighbor.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I just want to add, during the day, that it would be a wonderful thing to have the family center there. Because there's already a lot of stuff going on with the senior center. There's a lot of crossover. Sometimes we over at BCTV feel pretty disconnected from the rec department with programming going on. So if there were also families coming in during the day, I think it would be a really good thing. That's all.
Thank you, Esther.
The other comment I was going to make too is just that I believe the Legion space, the Freedom Center, has been empty now for going on 3 years. Is that right?
No, not quite.
Not quite.
No.
Definitely more than 2. But
I'm
it
not even
just,
quite sure it's that
I
long.
just,
But it's been
it's been a while.
I think it sat empty for a while before it was
Yeah.
like given back.
I just,
Yeah.
I would personally much rather that we say, yes, I see your phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 approach. Let's try phase 1 for a little while, share the space, still allow the scouts to come and still do the 4 square, and then in a year and a half or 2 time, when we have another space, then we reevaluate if we were going to do aftercare. But I hate for another space to sit, just because we might have a plan eventually in some near future.
I get what you're saying. Some of my concern is, I don't know if Steve's talked to the veteran agent, there's a lot of privacy that goes on with veterans. They come in with PTSD, they come in with funeral arrangements, with kids running around that space. Yeah. It's not going to be good for our veteran agent in that programming. Never mind if seniors are coming down the hallway and they trip and fall over a kid or something, because that program is walked. That's my concern for safety. I don't know your feelings on that. I mean, if we could figure that piece out, there's no other door, I guess.
Is there a private space for Charlie to go so that they could have that room?
No, she's in, well, so when the American Legion occupied the space, they had the main Legion room, and then the Women's Auxiliary met in the smaller room where Charlie currently is, so they had 2 rooms, as well as a closet down the hallway for their parade gear. So all of that came back to the town, but the first room that came back was the Women's Auxiliary, because they disbanded before the main the men's group. So that space came back second. So Charlie was already in there before the main room became open.
Yeah, well, I get that, what I'm more asking is, could Charlie be relocated to a quiet space that serves her needs so that the family center could go into the bigger room there?
We moved her from where Joanne is
Yep.
now in the town hall auditorium intentionally over the senior center.
I get it. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah. So many of our veterans also participate with the senior programs, that overlap was very helpful and beneficial, yeah. And when she first moved down there, it became it actually benefited her client list, yeah. More people didn't even realize that we had a veterans agent that was there to support them. And, they were at the senior center doing something, and they were able to just walk down the hallway. And currently, there's no open spaces in the senior center. We couldn't move her there. So right now, she's where she is.
It would have made sense, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want you to have a space. I just don't I don't know the logistics of the town enough to think about, okay, well, what could we do? I'm relying on you to kind of tell me what makes sense.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I lost track. It's been 24 minutes. My apologies.
Okay.
So we originally had offered up the back room at the rec center with the door that goes outside, and we had talked about potentially fencing in that section so that they would also have a yard. Is that not a viable option any longer?
Well, I'm told that the fence was not a viable, the fence couldn't be moved, is my understanding.
Or like a new situation?
The issue that we've had thus far with that space is that it's often in use on like weekends, which is, most of the members of our committee work during the week, so we haven't been able to run programming during the week. So
And the other programming that happens in there happens in the morning too. There's yoga. And
No,
things like
yeah.
that.
I mean,
So-
I do yoga in that room
Right.
twice a week. So I
I mean, that was originally what we were told when the building was demolished without us knowing it was going to happen ahead of time. We were told, we'll get you another space, we promise. And that was the first space that we discussed because of the playground being a possibility.
we've only successfully booked that room once.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then I know
Yoga
that
could
was
go-
also when the IT department had yet to
Right,
move
and they
into
had-
that
yeah,
space.
that
So
room
that
was
has
empty in the
also
back
changed
then,
the
and-
dynamics of that building and that facility.
Yoga doesn't really conflict with needing quiet time outside the veterans office.
No, it doesn't.
Yoga,
Oh, to move, to switch those programs into that room and.
I'm just.
doesn't,
In parking too, that's another concern, because there's no parking over there
Where?
by the Veterans Center.
am I hearing
across the
correctly
street.
that you're saying that yoga?
There's none across the
It
street.
doesn't matter
Where the-
if yoga
There's a skate
is
park.
noisy?
The skate park is for that area, but where the.
All right, wait, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. You guys talk, and then I'll ask my question afterwards. Go ahead.
Oh, the Legion area has no
but
parking.
there's parking on the side.
It's way down the
Where
side, so-
BCTV is.
Yeah,
It's
but
not,
that's for
anyways,
that
it's not that
space,
far.
yeah.
That's irrelevant. That's like a.
No, it's not far.
People can walk. If you can do yoga, you can walk.
What I said was yoga is quiet. I feel like it could be near Charlie.
Oh, okay, that
Oh,
makes
there's-
better sense.
There's
Okay.
puppy yoga.
Oh yeah, puppy yoga.
Puppies are
Baby goat
they're little
yoga.
potatoes.
All right, let's stay on topic here.
I mean, we talk about this list of capital that we have, that we've got like, 40 pages. I'm just trying to think, there's really, truly nothing else that would make sense.
Well,
I think
40 pages. I think we're talking about existing usable space. I think before we go any further, I would like to get clarification from the Recreation Department how often that space is being used, because it was my impression it was programmed out like all the other space. There's some things going on.
We did meet with them before
Yeah.
we made this proposal, and we were told at that time, just the Girl Scouts met in there and the square dancing once a week. But that was a couple of months ago when we had that meeting, because it took a while for us to get this far.
Yeah.
But I did go to the rec department again this Saturday and spoke with an employee who said they do use it for some other things, and they have some things coming up that they're thinking about using it for.
Okay.
But it did not say, this, and this, just some other.
Well, what about
opportunities.
Whitney's suggestion of a phased approach? It would not be, there wouldn't be ownership, it would be a space while we're figuring out what is going to be appropriate for everybody who needs space in this town.
Well, I think one of the most important pieces, and I realize you addressed that to them, not to me, is that they need to be able to put tables and chairs out.
Right.
So, and because the closet's not enough. So, but I do want that space to be used by other groups too. We want the scouts to be able to go in.
I'm just wondering too, is there a creative approach that we haven't thought about? So like, are there adjustable tables that exist that can be
We use them at the
heightened
library
and
all the time.
lowered
Yeah.
so that you can use them for different types of programming as a
Or take the
potential
table out,
option?
you know?
Well, I'm just,
Well,
they
storage
want
becomes a
a
problem.
space that they can have kids come in and they have their supplies at the ready and they have appropriate height.
Oh, no, I understand.
Tables and whatnot, so if there was all I'm saying is if it's
Yeah.
adjustable, you
Yeah.
can accommodate kids and also adults.
Agreed.
As
But
a
I'm also saying
potential-
if the polka, what is it, square dancing group comes in.
I think I called
that
it.
you
No,
can
yeah, you can
also
move the tables
tables.
out,
Yeah.
Or where do you put them? That's the question.
Financing could
and then
go
in
back to
terms-
where they were using. They were using that other room for years.
And then the community closet, I'm just thinking about co-locating, because now Charlie's got the cupboard outside of her office for veterans in need, and then right next to that you have the thrift shop that the senior center is running.
Yeah.
And how can we just talked about collaboration, having all these boards in the room.
Yeah.
Like, how can we take advantage of all of that programming into
Yeah.
a space?
And can it
For
be, can
everyone.
it be a partnered, but,
Right.
you know, so that, you know, there's a veteran section and a, you know, closet, a community closet.
Right, because you know, like the
Yeah.
thrift shop's only open 3 days a week
I
too,
know.
right? So like we're giving dedicated space to the senior center for the thrift shop that's
Right.
open for 12 hours
It's
a week.
packed to the ceiling, though, I can tell you.
Oh, I believe,
Yes.
I know, I've been in there, so it's not like, you know, I'm just saying, these are the things that I think,
Right.
and when
So-
we talk about community spaces in our town-owned buildings, we have to consider everything on the table and how we can be equitable between all the groups and the committees
I agree.
that may or may not need space. So
But
I'm not.
given Steve's need to have outreach with the rec department,
Yeah.
and given that it feels like there's consensus that you need a space, but we also have competing needs. I don't know, I'm not confident that we're ready to vote tonight.
Can I speak on one more?
Yeah, yes.
We touched on this a little bit. We talked about it being important as far as preschool, but there's a lot of care and services for children under the age of 3 that we used to be able to provide. Our town doesn't have any Head Start.
No.
We don't have Criterion. We have nothing. If a family thinks that their child has a speech issue, or why aren't they walking by the time they're 15 months, what's going on? They have to leave our town and go somewhere else.
Does the family center have the certification or qualification to actually do that?
That's where we invite speech therapists come in and we'll meet. They'll just come into playgroup and chat with the caregivers that are there. Collaborative has lots of opportunities for us when they come in. Head Start can come and visit us. WIC can come and visit us. But right now, we don't have a space for that.
Okay. Thank you for
And
that.
so I would like us to really consider that our town does not offer anything, and those first 5 years
Are
of life are
critical.
the most important. The most development happens, and we need to support them.
What does the board want to do? Oh,
So I'm also on the Family Center Committee. I have a 1-year-old. We have to go to the we go to the Northampton Parent Center, and we've seen an infant movement specialist there. We've seen art therapists there. We've seen a lot of different, and we're having to go to Northampton to get that. I'm having to. They don't have weekend time, so I take time off of work to take my son over there for some of those playgroups sometimes. But having something in town, especially my daycare is right on Jackson Street, so like it would just be. So this was also like a very personal thing for me, who's traveling to Northampton to get these kinds of services that Jen's.
but if I understand this correctly, you would still come with your son to, but it would, to their program, but it would be less time in terms of travel.
Yeah, it cuts an
Okay.
hour off of my
I know that route well.
Yeah.
What do you?
I think we need to let Steve just look at it and talk to rec and clarify all the programming, if that makes sense. Because otherwise, if we give a space and we're going to disorient the space, we're just playing shuffleboard until we know exactly how much of that room is being used or what room is being used. There might be another room in the rec that's not being used. I don't know that answer. I mean, we have Old Town Hall that doesn't get used at all during the daytime.
Steve, can you work with the Family Center and Whitney to develop a plan so that we can come back and vote on it?
I'll do my best.
Excuse me?
I said I will do my best.
Thank you very much. I know that isn't what you want for tonight, but I think this will get us closer to a vote.
I mean, it was not our first choice for a room.
Right.
We picked it because it seemed to make the most sense out
Yeah.
of what we could find out from the town. Actually, if we only could get one room, our ideal room would be that back room at the rec department, because the parking would be more accessible. It would be there's space right outside that would be safe for children to go out and play. There's no yard near the
And,
building that we're talking
just to
about.
make sure that I mean what we say in terms of this isn't gonna just float away.
Yes.
Steve and Whitney and all of you would, like mid-January, when's our January meetings? Because it is the
Yeah,
holidays,
the
so
5th and
we
the
have to
19th.
take
I
that.
need to go. I mean,
5th and
because
the
we're going to
20th.
need to meet with
Well,
Kyle.
yeah.
Okay, so what do you suggest?
Give us a couple meetings. I mean, is there anything that is, other than what you want, is there anything that's time dependent that we need to shoot for, or can you, if we can get you something by February?
Okay, so February,
Pretty patient.
what's a meeting in February? That,
Yeah, well,
it's,
but you're not like, you don't have a grant or something pending there. Okay,
Can I ask a
the
question?
first meeting in February, how about that?
we can shoot for that.
First week in February, sorry, I just wanted to
This may
nail
be an
down the date.
unpopular question. Hopefully it doesn't get me in hot water, but this is just a really innocent question. Have you asked the schools if they have any space for you for a permanent space?
No.
Okay. I don't mean anything by it. I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
is it possible that they have space that they don't use? I think about when I was in Brownies. I mean, my Brownies was at Cold Spring School.
Right, after
Girl
school
Scouts was at
hours.
Cold Spring
though.
School.
Those were all
A
after
lot of
school
them
hours.
have-
but-
When I had a scout group, we used, I don't know, no, but we weren't storing things there, we were hauling.
Right, and I know this is different, and I don't even know what kind of space they have available, but maybe it's worth an ask.
I don't know that the schools are, my initial reaction to that is that I don't think the schools are gonna be particularly psyched about having a bunch of people trying to come in and out of the building during the day during school hours.
We can ask, but with some of it being run by volunteers, I'm not sure if legally they'd be allowed to let us use it during school hours.
Right, and we have,
I mean,
kids and
I
families coming
certainly.
in.
I mean, the
reach out to
bathrooms
Brian
would
and ask
work,
if-
you know?
Yes.
You know, there's that. It doesn't hurt to ask.
I just know out of all the other family centers, I don't know of any that have
Yeah.
it in a public
Yeah.
school. So
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that somehow it's not allowed, but I'd be happy to.
And that may be the case, but to
And I know that-
Nicole's point, we can ask.
But I do think, so it sounds like we're committing to having them come back in February, and Steve, I'm happy to chat with you too, if you want us to set up a meeting with Kyle, if it's possible, to talk about what space looks like, or if he can send an email.
Well, you guys work it out.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the time and,
I know.
all right. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody who spoke. We will see you in February.
The other day.
Okay, the meeting is continuing, so please walk out quietly. Thank you. I get it. All right, Steve, do you want to start with the discussion action items?
Yeah, so 6A is community surveys. We put this topic on the agenda so that we could talk about when surveys are appropriate, who is going to make that decision, maybe some of the more finer details, like where do surveys get circulated, to who, when, timeframes, those things. And I guess the concern that I have, and I think the board shares, is that we are constantly trying to do our best to understand what the community wants from us. But at the same time, I think we may be exposing our residents to too many surveys, and we're going to start to see survey burnout. Because these are planning documents, and there's not always immediate results. When you have a planning document and it takes 2 to 5 years before there's an action, people say, why did I waste my time? But they don't realize that we're still looking at that data every day. So I think John's going to follow up on that, but that's basically why we're here talking about this.
We don't
tonight.
really get the participation in the surveys that we like. I think the biggest one was actually a little bit surprising. Was it like 300 participated? I was like, wow. But I think like the average is you get like 100 people on any given survey.
Yeah, this came up in the communication committee this past or last week about survey burnout, who's going to manage the surveys, the data. So the communication committee's like, we're a volunteer group, we don't have time to go through all this resource, so let's push it onto Kate. But then Kate is 19 hours. That's the problem. We have so much stuff for Kate, so that's something we gotta think about, the communication role. Who should manage these surveys? Should the communication manager do it? Who's going to manage it? And then we need to think about that for budget season, like more hours for that role or stuff like that. But it's more burnout and managing of all this stuff. And I think we just went through a Boys and Girls Club survey, and there was a lot of data. I think Lisa Stahl and Kyle and Jen did all this stuff, and it was like, whew, it's eye-opening. I think they went through, 300 pages of survey to condense it down to...
Oh, Kate did that.
Kate did that.
Kate did that.
Yeah, it's like 300, right? Something like that. It was something crazy amount down to like 7 pages, which was a lot of data.
A tremendous amount of work.
I think we need a survey committee.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what it falls under communication because that's what they're rolling out. But there's,
It was a joke.
Oh, good.
And that's the problem. So what do we want to do? Who wants to be in charge of tasking surveys out? Like, who says no? Who says yes?
What's an alternative to a survey?
Yeah. I don't know, you get a survey for everything nowadays. You bought a new car, you get a survey. You ate at Friendly's, you got a survey. So, I'm just saying, you get a survey for everything. School sends how's school lunch today? A lot of times I just scroll through and I just don't answer it. So the feedback is not there anymore. I don't think we're getting a true assessment.
But John, what is your recommendation? And what is the recommendation of the Communications Committee and Kate?
It's kind of the communication manager manage the surveys, determine when the appropriate time to send out a survey. Besides us with our input of obviously a select board, but that's kind of where it's at. And having one central person do the surveys, so like rec sends a survey out, senior center sends a survey out, and where's all that data? Like there's no central box.
There's no repository.
Yep.
So that, so everything, when we want something, we're not looking at a survey that was done a year ago or 6 months ago.
Right.
Yep.
And that's my concern.
Yep, we have no
is
database.
We need a central repository of that information.
I agree with that.
So,
Agree.
yeah, so what's the solution?
I think we need to think about really adding more hours to the communication manager and we come to budget season.
That's what I was just thinking too.
And I'm going to advocate for this. The communications advocating for it, but I think maybe Steve will advocate for it too more, but he can probably attest better how much work. She's doing a lot of work on 19 hours. It's not enough.
Yeah. That's on my list as well as some other labor items. And we'll be talking about that during the budget process. But that has crossed my desk several times, and I do agree that it's warranted. I think, that's one issue, but I do think the other issue is, are we truly getting representative information from our citizens with surveys, and are we using too many surveys? And the other thing, we are focusing a lot on social media and our website for surveys, and that's not always, we don't reach everybody that way. There's people who would still like somebody standing outside of a grocery store with a clipboard, so there's some real problems there. So I think what I would like to have answered is, right now, we just, when somebody has an idea, we create a survey and we send it out. Are we going to continue like that, or are we going to have the communications committee or the select board or somebody who is going to say, that's a good idea, let's issue a survey? That's what I would like to know. We can work on who's managing the data, who's doing the survey, where it's advertised. But are we just going to continue to present surveys every time somebody wants something else? That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. Thank you for that reminder. Given what John has said about the Communications Committee, and I agree, they're a volunteer committee, but they hold very specific expertise. What if an entity that wants to put out a survey came before the Communications Committee? Kate's a part of it. and said, this is what I want to do. And together with Kate, the Communications Committee could then decide, based on the merits, whether or not it should go forward. And if not, they could also make suggestions of how else they might get the information they want. And I do believe Kate, as the communications manager, would need to hold the repository of data, so that if we already have it, that it can be referred to. And the Communications Committee could also create a policy of how long is the data good for. So we're still using them as an advisory group. They're listening and they're making decisions about the survey. And then based on a recommendation, if the survey is going forward, that it could then come to us for our approval. I mean, unless, you know, sort of like how the planning board does, you know, unless we have an issue, the Communications Committee and Kate, and, well, at that point, it would be you too, Steve, because you oversee her work. It would then just come to us for our approval.
I see Chris Martin is on, and I actually have a question. Is Communications Committee maxed out right now for membership?
There's an open seat.
There's an open seat, and I'm assuming it's hard to get. Is it hard to get people on that committee?
I think it's not just that committee. I think it's, I mean, this is
No,
probably
I know,
a different
but
topic. It's
there are
for
more.
every
Some
topic.
committees are more popular than others. I'm just asking, is this a more popular committee?
I guess before Chris speaks, my only concern with that plan is if a department head or another committee or organization goes to the Communications Committee, and the Communications Committee thinks that the survey is valid and viable, and they spend the time developing parameters around it, and then bring it to the Select Board, and the Select Board disagrees and feels that the survey shouldn't go out, then they've just spent a lot of time. I would almost like to see the Select Board say, yes, this is okay, then send it to the Communications Committee, and then approve the final plan.
I think I would rather have the Communications Committee be the ones that make the decision rather than the Select Board because of their specific expertise. And if anything, that I see it like the Planning Board, you know. Generally, we remand back to the Planning Board. In my time here, I don't think I've seen us do anything but remand.
I think it's a little bit different with planning board because they operate within very set guardrails.
Yeah.
Whereas I think whether you put out a survey or not is really based on opinion and if you think it's a good idea or not. I guess where I was going with this,
Okay.
Steve, is could we, and Chris, I know you're unmuted, so chime in, but would it make sense to change the number of members on the Communications Committee to add one or two more in order to create a survey subcommittee? Or am I just way out there?
I want to avoid any additional committees, but personally,
Yeah.
I would rather, and when we're talking about the size of our committee, we are not full at the moment. We have 7 seats with 5 members. I would love to get back up to that 7 member state. I think that for quorum purposes and to be able to move quick on things, it's very important for us to have a full 7 committee. Yeah, I personally think just like having a survey subcommittee is not a great idea. And other members in the committee, when that was something that was actually brought up at our last meeting, and everybody around the table was kind of like, no, let's not do anything like that. And actually, one of the ideas that I had was that, you know, surveys are not always the best way to collect data from events, but it is like the easy fallback. It's what everybody is kind of accustomed to doing. I think that there's actually some education around how to collect data that can be done in the town. You know, I use the tree lighting as an example in our last meeting. That, you know, it's just as easy to have somebody standing outside the s'mores area with a counter, just collecting data on how many people entered it, right? And that's a good point. Like if you have 1,000 people that went and got s'mores, great, that's a good number. That's something we want to support the next year. Same thing with, the hot cocoa truck that was there. They had hot cocoa, and it had, for the first time that I've ever seen, cider as well. So if you find out that like you outsold cider than hot cocoa, great. That's a data point that can be used for the next year. You don't have to always fall on surveys to get all of this stuff. You can find out from the vendors, how many sales did you make? You don't have to ask about how much money did you make or anything like that, but how many sales did you make, right?
So, Chris,
if you find out that the vendors didn't sell anything, then why are we supporting it, right?
There's
other ways of doing this data.
You are making my point. You are making my case for why I think it would, and I want to know your thoughts on this idea of people who want to do a survey to come explain to you and the committee of what they want to do and why, and have Kate and the communications committee decide on the merits, or if we already have that information, and or if the survey really is the best thing, and offer suggestions on how they could get the information. I just don't think that the select board is going to have that same level of savvy that the communications committee has.
Sure, yeah, and that's why we discussed this in a meeting and said that Kate really should be the person to go to for this. She's always there. She's well, not always, right, because she is part-time, but she's there more days of the week than our committee gets together.
Right.
Right. So there are members of the committee that people could reach out to, and we welcome other committees, other departments, whoever needs it, to reach out to the communications committee and ask questions of any of us. Like you said, we do have a great wealth of skills around the whole area of communication. So we'd be happy to answer anybody's questions. But like I said, Kate is there. She's the communications manager. We think that giving her full support to do her job and to provide recommendations is more important than supporting our own opinions on the matter.
That's good. Okay, all right. Steve, what do you think of that?
That's fine if we want to have Kate as the first line of defense on this, then
I really value, Chris, you don't want to be part of this and support Kate?
Well, absolutely. If it's a matter of creating survey policy, if it's a matter of coming up with alternative ideas, creating a paper about even infographics, stuff like that, we can absolutely help out with gathering that information and getting it available to the different committees and groups in town. That's absolutely no problem. We'd be happy to collaborate on that.
So
when it comes to you point person, we think it should be Kate.
Right, it should be Kate, but do you agree that people who want to do a survey should appear before the communications committee with Kate and decide whether or not this is something that you support or don't support? Or if you don't support it, that, suggestions on how they might be able to get the information. What you basically just said about the tree lighting, that's what we need.
Well, what if your committee created like a workflow, so you want to put out a survey, answer this question, and ultimately if it goes down to yes, or no, you just need to stand outside with a clicker, or right?
Either way, I'm just saying I'd like to see the communications committee involved. Kate has 19 hours a week. I know that the time is limited with a volunteer group, so that's why I'm suggesting if you do it together. I don't think there's going to be a line of people that are going to be coming to you every meeting. I think this is something that would happen, 6 or 7 times a year.
May I? And I don't want to
Yes.
belabor this, but so I like things to move quickly, but this is something that I don't like to move quickly, assessments. I actually like assessments on a regulated basis, ideally annually.
Yeah.
And I know that means that things would go slowly, but I like this idea about ideas going to the communications committee, Kate being the person who says, actually, I've got another idea for you on how you can get that data now. Or that is a fantastic survey question. Our annual survey goes out July 1st, and then she has lots of time to prep and make sure that we have one question, not 5 iterations of the same question, and data lives in one location, and then you can also compare it year over year.
Oh, that's a good one.
And so I would
a
kind of
good
like to see
idea.
us move to an annual survey, and then there are fun ideas like what Chris was saying, like, you know, using real life data in other ways.
Well,
So-
that's, what do you think, Steve?
It sounds like what we need is some policies around
Yeah.
surveys, and if the communications committee is willing to help
Yeah.
develop those, we can bring them back to the select board at a future meeting and try to get this off the table.
I like that. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, that sounds great, and these are all great ideas.
Thanks, Chris.
Aren't you glad you joined the call tonight?
We're going to get you involved one way or another. Are we all in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Thank you, Whitney.
Oh, thanks everyone.
And thanks, everybody. Anything else on that one, John? Or are we good?
That's all I got. I know this is off topic. Chris, you still there? Can you guys okay if he touches just on the communication plan instead of me, on my board report? But he's the expert on it. You want to just do a quick summary of that, Chris, real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Didn't think I'd be talking today. Yeah, so the communications plan, we actually passed that along before. What we have so far is very technical, very top level, and we wanted to get more into a tactical point of view. We recently went to the community action plan and went through the whole thing and found every point where it mentioned communications or something around communication, something, whether it's like scheduling meetings or whatever else, anywhere that there's like sort of a touch point where communication can be applied to it. There weren't a lot of it, I don't think, too many of the different parts of the action plan focused on communication, which is an issue in itself, but we are going to take those, we're going to make them into tactical action plans, things that we can put together in our own communication plan to say, okay, based on the community plan, we are going to advise that we do this, this, and this. So we're currently working on what those tactical points are and who should be involved and what we need to do to move forward with those. Once we have that prepared, then I think we're going to be ready to present sort of a final product to the select board and say, here's the top level and here's what we think needs to be done in the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
That's great.
Thanks, Chris. You saved me some time tonight.
What other things can we ask?
No.
Chris?
No.
This is everything we were talking
Chris.
about today, so
Thanks.
Chris.
Really appreciate it.
have a good night. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Back to you, Steve.
Okay, so I will have a conversation tomorrow with Kate, and
Excellent.
we will get the ball rolling on this. I appreciate Chris being here and chipping in where he needed to. 6B is to endorse the certification form for the 2026 liquor licenses.
I have a question.
This is a form that we complete annually, and it just states that we're in compliance, and anybody that did not renew their license is listed specifically on the form.
Okay,
So
that was one of my questions.
I
The other
figured as
question I
much.
had, though, was the common vic licenses for, these are ones we already voted on, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so tonight is just the okay.
Correct, yeah.
All right.
Some of those are just cleanup from the last meeting.
Got
but
it.
The only form that wasn't voted on to be signed was the certification.
Okay, all
Yep,
right.
we were waiting for one last renewal application, but it didn't come in, so that's it.
Okay.
Time's up.
I make a motion that we endorse the certification for the 2026 liquor licenses.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
6C is to appoint the deputy tax collector. This is on page 18 of your packet. It's a recommendation from our treasurer collector, and it is a reappointment. The name's eluding me.
Arthur P. Jones.
Who has served us very well. So we were hoping that you can reappoint the deputy tax collector.
Make a motion that we approve the request of our treasurer collector to reappoint Arthur P. Jones to the position of deputy tax collector for the period running January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6D is the FY27 budget update. So I put this on here so we could, I could brief the board on where things stand. Just as a recap, back in September, the budget process officially kicked off with asking all the department heads to prepare capital project requests for our Capital Improvement Planning Committee. They are meeting again this week. I believe at this point, all capital requests have been submitted. There may be some stragglers if something comes in last minute, but the committee is working on trying to crunch all those numbers for FY27, as well as work on years 2 through 5. They're working with the department heads now to gather that data so they can start arranging things. This is the Capital Improvement Planning Committee's second year, so they're still working out some logistics on how they manage the data. And they've had a lot of changes this year with membership. So,
Are they short any members right now?
yes, they are looking for one member. Possibly 2, but if, there hasn't been a rush of interest, so if somebody is interested, just get it in. Regardless, so the capital is ongoing. Our operating budgets, again, we were a few weeks behind getting that process started. January 15th is the deadline. So we have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, a tri-board meeting to discuss budgets. I was hoping, in light of the fact that the operating budgets were not going to be available for discussion until January, that tomorrow we could talk about the free cash distribution. Jill has submitted the free cash information to the state. We were hoping that by now we would have the final number back with the approval. It did not come. So that's not uncommon for this time of the year because it's the end of the calendar year and there's a lot of other things going on with tax rates and stuff that communities are preparing. So we would assume that we'll have it soon, but we don't have it for tomorrow night's discussion. So
Tomorrow night.
So the free cash distribution is, last year it was 60% operating budget, 40% to capital, OPEB, and stabilization.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have that number, so that conversation can't happen yet. We know that we have to put money back into stabilization because we took some out for the health insurance. So we don't have that available to talk about. We don't have operating budgets to talk about, and we don't have any indication yet from the state. So I would ask that maybe we just postpone tomorrow's meeting.
I agree.
Until the beginning of January.
We did have one open item, and that was that FinCom in their last meeting it made a motion advising us to form a strategic planning committee.
I think we need to pause on that right now. That doesn't need to be discussed tomorrow. We have finance here, unless you feel otherwise, Brian.
No, there's no
Right.
timeline. It's a multi-year
Exactly.
thing. It's just we
Yeah.
discussed it and we just
Then,
decided
you know,
to advise that this proceeds.
It's a pretty thin agenda at this point.
Yeah, I don't see us having a meeting. If we form that group, we wouldn't have a meeting until
After the holidays.
after the
anyway.
holidays, so I think that could wait till, I think we could shoot for the beginning of January to reschedule this meeting.
Yeah.
the school committee been consulted?
I'm sorry?
Has the school committee been consulted? I imagine they posted also. Heidi's on the call.
Heidi's on the call, yeah.
I just want to make sure that they are okay with that.
Sure. Heidi, do you have any feelings about this?
Sorry, just getting together. I expected that we would be talking about it tomorrow.
We have a very thin agenda, and we're not really going to be implementing anything until January. So can we wait until after the holidays?
Are you saying not to have a meeting tomorrow?
Yes. No meeting tomorrow.
So we wanted to talk about the budget process, see if we can get a timeline and see if we can get an idea of numbers and what we're looking at right now.
So we have no numbers at this point?
That's what Steve was just saying.
Right, no. I expect that, but I have committee members who were very concerned with getting that out there. That's what we need.
Can you give the numbers she's looking for? I don't think we need to have a whole meeting about it.
Well, yeah, that's kind of one of the issues, is we don't get the governor's numbers till January. We don't have free cash certified. We thought we would have it, but we also don't have the first 6 months of this fiscal year to fall back on, because it's still ongoing. Usually, we use the first 6 months for spending trends
Which
and
is
for revenue projections.
why we're making the suggestion that we wait until
Yeah.
those numbers come in.
I completely understand. I'm passing on what was given.
Oh,
to me
yeah,
from
no,
my
I understand that too.
yeah,
What do you want to do if we don't have the information? What do you advise?
I'm thinking second week of January, we'll have more info.
Second week in January?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should get a doodle poll out right away, because the longer
Sure.
it gets, the less availability people have.
Yep, we can send one out tomorrow.
Okay. Steve said he'll send out one tomorrow for, second week in January.
So is this official and confirmed that the meeting tomorrow is canceled?
We just made that decision.
I guess it's postponed.
But it's not canceled, it's postponed.
Yeah, we're not canceling the budgets.
Okay.
I got you. I will spread that word to my committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Heidi.
I did thank Heidi.
I know, I was,
Oh.
continue on.
So that's all
All
I
right.
have on the budget update, unless you have questions. So, I do think Heidi brought up a good point about numbers, and, the things that we look at are expenditures and revenues. And a very important part of that is the first 6 months of the current fiscal year, because then it kind of gives us, we know where our revenues are going to be, and it helps us project into the next fiscal year. So having the meeting now, we only have 5.5 months, and that doesn't really help us.
Right.
So having it in January is going to give us a much better snapshot of where we're heading.
Well, and I know that we wanted to make these quarterly meetings, and that would make sense, because they typically be then July, October, January.
Yeah, but I
Right.
guess we had several meetings over the health insurance, so.
Correct,
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, I wish it was at the beginning of December or the end of November that we were having a meeting. There's so much going on right now with the holidays and everything else that's going on. It's just time consuming.
Agreed.
I'm sorry, was there anything
Oh, I said
more?
agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Can we move on to the health update?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Oh, can I pause and ask, are there cookies down there?
Yes.
Could
Oh,
those
I
just,
baked cookies
make
for
their way
everybody.
over here?
Take one, pass it
I'm
down.
Just,
Cookie break. Okay.
Point of information. Thank you.
Okay, Nicole, I'm going to ask you to work with Steve on this one.
Yeah, I can open it up. I did speak to Joanne today. She is our, not only our HR director, but she is part of the executive committee for the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust. The HILB group that has been retained to be the advisors to the trust. Her report to me is that they have hit the ground running. They are going through records and everything as we speak. They are doing a lot. They understand where we are and where we need to be. They're also working on trying to get bid packages together for providers for not only health insurance but pharmaceuticals. So that's ongoing. Whether or not we stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield and CVS for healthcare and pharmaceuticals is yet to be determined, but they are looking to price that out so that when those contracts expire, we get the best service for our money and hopefully savings. As far as the town side, we too plan on going out to bid for comparisons so we can make an informed decision if we stay with the trust or if we go to the private market or evaluate the GIC further. We were hoping that we would have our claim data from the trust by now, but they've had some personnel changes. So it's going to be another week or two before we get the claim data, and then we'll get our bid out. So that's all I had on the health insurance update. I know Nicole has been...
I just wanted to say a couple things. First of all, in the FinCom meeting, I wasn't sure when HILB was starting. I think I said January 1st, so they're already...
Oh, yeah, they started...
They're in. Okay.
Yeah.
And to clarify, I'm sure I heard them say this, they will have some accounting software in place. Have you heard them speak on when they were planning on or what they were rolling out?
No, I don't know that, but I do know it's been a topic.
Okay. I know that part of the bid was United Healthcare was one of the carriers that declined to quote, which on the commercial side, that's really surprising because they quote on everything.
Wow.
So that was a little worrisome to see, but it's too early to tell. The last thing I wanted to share is that the following towns or units are leaving the trust and going to the GIC. Bernardston, Chesterfield, Franklin Regional Council of Governments, Chesterfield Goshen School District, Hampshire Regional School District, and the bigger one is Southampton.
Jeez.
Southampton.
So
made that
Southampton, I think, is a couple hundred.
That's the biggest up in the list, yeah.
Yeah.
Who were they going with? Do we know?
GIC. Yeah.
Is that would that drive rates up?
Depends on their claims. I mean, if they didn't have great. So first of all, the first 5 are so small. But if there's a really bad claim in there, that could help us. So, you know what I wanted to ask you? Do all of the towns have different splits in premium or different premiums? In other words, are our rates the same exact with the same split as Southampton?
Correct, yes.
So is it safe to say?
Oh, well, if you're talking employer contributions.
Those could be different.
Those could be different.
But the rates themselves are the same?
The rates are the same.
So these communities made the choice to go to the GIC knowing that the benchmark plan was more expensive than what they currently have. And you have to assume that they made that decision because they have concerns about the future of the trust.
Right.
So what we found out is the benchmark plan is utilized for benefit comparisons, but you don't have to join on the benchmark plan.
Right.
So you can go to a lower plan with potentially savings, but you have to negotiate that with all of your unions.
Right.
So that is still an option. It's just, we don't know if that's the best option because, we want to go out to bid and see what the market will offer. So most of these, Southampton is one of the larger communities, but it's still not, the 3 big are Belchertown, East Hampton, and South Hadley. And we have enough employees and retirees enrolled in our health insurance system to be competitive on the market. And that's why, our broker is saying, give it a try, because you may find that you can do better than the GIC and the trust on your own. But it all goes back to claims, and that is as Nicole will probably attest to, is a very complicated formula. And I know it's not one formula, but it's the only way I can describe it, because they will look at past history, but then they'll look at that history and say, well, is that a one-off? Is this somebody that was treated and it's gone, or is this something that's, do they in general have? So there's a lot that goes into that, and that's why we need the claim data to go out to bid.
So what they do is they pull 24 months of claims. the last 12 months, they give 66% credibility to, and then the 12 months prior to that, they give 34% credibility to, and then they kind of mush it all together, and then they add a trend number in it. Like, trend right now is 10%. That's the cost of medical care right now. 10%. I'm just making that number up. And then they add that in, and then they say, okay, here's your proposal. So there's like a lot of different things that go into it, but they are focusing mostly on the claims. And the previous 12 months, the most.
So if we had, 100 employees, I don't think we would be talking about a market bid. But because we have over 300 and several hundred retirees on our plan, we have buying power. So it's to our benefit to, make sure that we pursue every option before we make a final decision. So that day's coming. I hope that the Hill Group can right the ship with the trust, and we don't have to worry about this beyond this year. But I know that they're still struggling financially. They're still solvent at this point, but they are precariously close to being out of money. So we have to pay close attention to this.
I mean, you know my concern, and it's not rocket science. It's, this is really about what level of risk do we want to shoulder. What happened this year was devastating. I mean, and other towns had it much, much worse. At least we had some resources. This happened again.
Yeah, we don't have the resources.
We don't have the resources, and I have concerns that the residents will look to us and say, you knew this. This already happened. Now it happened again. I know you're doing due diligence. These are my worries. I think they're shared worries. We just can't take a double hit. So continue doing the work soberly. Seriously.
We'll get there, yeah.
I mean, I said it before. I think Hilb is a wonderful company.
Yeah.
They're
the consultants.
Yeah, the stuff that Joe Shea did was just derelict. Like, I can't even think of a better word for it. The common average person wouldn't have made some of the decisions that he made. So I just think we're in such better hands. I mean, at the end of the day, the claims are the claims. If you had a ton of sick people, it doesn't matter who your consultant is. You can't control that. But I would hope with them in place that lightning would not strike twice if they're carrying out, their tasks properly.
Yes. I'm
So,
recognizing the chair of the Finance Committee.
Wednesday evening, we brought this up as an agenda item. And to Nicole's point, there's a consultant in, but we don't know how much control the consultant's going to have to do with how the trust does their business. They're going to operate the. I don't know this. This is a question. They're going to operate the business decisions, but we looked up the agendas. They have agendas now, but they don't have any of the backup to the agendas like they used to. Can't even see what the current net gross monthly expenses are.
You're talking about Hill or?
No, I'm talking about the trust.
Okay.
Right, currently right now. Their last meeting minutes posted are from July. They haven't added any meeting minutes.
This is worrisome.
And you would think by now we all know it's going to be terrible, but you'd think they'd have their 24 audited financial statement up. I don't know why they're not. It's just troubling to us. We're not acting on it or anything. We just discussed it. But it seems odd that that organization that really doesn't want to lose members and wants to show that they're really making sound financial decisions would disseminate all their information to show that that's the case. And odd that they're not doing that.
You know, one other point too is Hill can make all of the recommendations that they want, right? But at the end of the day, the IAC is who votes. And if this wasn't enough of a shock for them, what they went through, to start, you know, taking the recommendation of your consultant, then I don't know what it is.
Yeah, quite honestly, I have not been impressed with the chair of the IAC.
Yeah.
And he represents one of the communities leaving for the GIC, so.
He does?
So I'm actually.
Chesterfield, right?
Dudley.
Dudley's not on the list.
Okay, maybe I have it wrong then. But I do believe that he will no longer be the chair. So I'm hoping that the IAC, under different leadership, will be a little bit more focused on their objective also of righting this ship, because you know, they've supported some of those bad decisions in the past.
Yeah.
So, but yes, we're not out of the woods yet. There's still a lot of concern to go around. You know, everywhere we look, it just seems like, you know, there's still work to do, so.
Okay. Well, in the interest of time, thank
Yep.
you. And thank you, Brian. You know, we'll just keep getting updates from you, and hopefully it'll become a little more clear what we need to do soon. Can you do a quick town manager's report?
Absolutely. I'll run through it quick, and then if you have any questions, you can back me up. But I did endorse warrants as always. I've been attending a lot of meetings with the Attorney General's office regarding Sports Haven. Been meeting with consultants regarding the feasibility study of the Tadgil building. The plan there is to prepare some concept drawings about reuse of the building with various uses. You know, everything from retail to residential to community center, you know, all of these different things, how they're going to be incorporated, how they could be incorporated. And then that information will come back to the select board at a later date so that we can kind of zero in on one that they can work on an estimate for the reuse of that building. I've been meeting with Ed Como, member of the Communications Committee. He is, I guess, on a sort of subcommittee. His task is to update the way that we publish our town meeting warrants. He would like to see more information put in there, not the official warrant that goes into the records, but the one that we hand out to our residents. And what he wants to include in there, and I don't want to steal all of his thunder, but a brief explanation of the article, if a board or committee voted on that article, what the vote was, impacts to the town, you know, just enough information. Is it a majority or a 2/3 vote? You know, is it binding or non-binding?
And that would go out ahead, like a week ahead? Or
Yeah, we're shooting for 2 weeks.
Oh, even better.
You know, we were talking about putting it on the document with the motions, but that oftentimes doesn't come out till a week before because of council review. So if we put it on with the warrant articles, it helps. But there's a lot of logistics in it, and I can, you know, as much as we're shooting for perfection in year one.
You know, a step in the right direction.
But any step in the right direction is going to help, so. Let's see. The annual town report memorandum went out today. Department heads have until January 15th by town bylaw to submit their annual town report, so that we can start assembling the final document. This year, it's going to be assembled on our website, and you know, printed copies will be limited. We did a similar thing last year, so it seems to be working out pretty good. I did attend a tri-board meeting on the 8th of December to discuss the options for regionalization, and I think that'll be, you know, the formation of a committee to pursue that further will be addressed in January. The Mass Trails Grant meeting took place. We've been talking about the trestle bridge on the portion of the trail from Route 181 to south, and North Washington Street to 181. So it'd be 181 north. And we've also been talking about the next phase of Foley Field, trying to get the sensory trail out to Jackson Street, and the MCRT project that's been ongoing with Mass DOT. We did have a follow-up meeting regarding the Boys and Girls Club. I spoke a little earlier about the results of the survey.
When was that meeting? I don't know that I was invited to that.
When was that?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah, and it wasn't with the Boys and Girls Club, it was just to talk about the survey results.
It's on my calendar here.
Oh, okay.
I didn't but I didn't realize you weren't invited.
Girls Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were invited to that meeting, I think.
I don't remember.
No, because the doodle poll went out, and that was the date that was settled on.
Yeah.
6 December.
No, it didn't go out to the whole
decide?
board. But Lisa, you were on the.
Tuesday, 6 December.
How do you decide who you're going to invite to things, though?
Well, we're kind of working with the same people that have been part of this from the beginning because of quorum issues.
Right.
And that's mostly been Jen and the chair. So, yeah, Lisa,
But,
yeah.
Can I get just a high level, not now,
Oh, John was there. He can talk
summary?
about it.
Yeah.
It was Wednesday, sorry, because it was 7 December, sorry,
Yeah,
wrong.
you filled in,
High-level
so,
summary, okay.
yeah, so,
But not right now.
yeah.
Okay?
Did I send the survey results to everybody?
Yes.
Everybody got the survey
Yes.
results,
Yeah, you did.
okay. So we met not to talk about a path forward with either the Y or the Boys and Girls Club. We met to talk about the survey results and how the reports were prepared. So we met with the communications director just to go over how she analyzed the data and how she put it together, and then who we were going to forward it to. So after that meeting, we agreed that we would send it to the full select board, the Boys and Girls Club, Pathfinder, since they're going to be a partner here with us in town. And there will be some planning meetings in the future, but that's yet to be determined.
Yeah,
So-
Brian Cameron was here.
Brian Cameron was here, yes, yep. But so again, it was not a meeting to talk about the concept, it was just what data came in, how is it organized, and are we happy with that? So,
Yeah, I need a high level on that, because I'm not sure.
I'll make sure you got the reports.
With,
Yeah,
you know, some of the assumptions.
yeah, okay.
Okay, great.
So that was it on that end, and then I did take some time off. I know a lot of people have asked, so I'll say it publicly. My dad did have successful bypass surgery.
Thank God.
He is way ahead of schedule on his recovery. He's probably being sent home tomorrow, a couple days early, so.
Amazing.
It all went well. It's amazing to see what the medical field can do to a human body, and how fast that person can bounce back. So within 6 to 8 hours, he was sitting up and talking to us.
And eating Jell-O.
Yeah, it's amazing. So.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
Can we back up just a minute on the meeting with Ed Como?
Mhm.
Is that, any of that language, something that we're going to be able to see ahead of time? I just want us to be really careful with language and make sure that it's not leaning one way or the other before it goes on a warrant.
Yeah, so I don't know if the whole board, last year I prepared a summary document. I don't know if I sent that to the whole board. But yes, we can make sure that there's some feedback.
Okay.
that's a good catch, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you for that report.
Okay.
Excellent news about your father. Please let him know that we all send him our regards and for continued good health. Okay, review of weekly mail.
I think it was, I don't know if we got those letters, they came in from the Immers, I guess it's council, they have a town council over there.
What was the difference between that
think
and the
one-
one he sent?
I think one was from the council, the president themselves, and then one was from the town manager. I don't know if the fire chief got them, or if we get some to the fire department. I don't know if you did that or not, just to recognize them. And one other comment I had was, how do we get National Grid to modify? I know it's tedious, but it says Board of Selectmen. It's like, we've been the select board for how long, and the National Grid has been, who do we correct this language to National Grid so they can address appropriate? You guys should be more offended than I am, but I'm just, I just think at this time,
Call 'em.
they should be addressing the board correctly at
They're at
this.
my house today. I'll ask them.
Yeah, I just, yeah,
Now,
we,
is that something that we can, write and say, this is the name of the entity, please refer to it as this from now on, thank you,
that's all,
John.
I know it's tedious, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we have a community rep. I'll see what we can do.
Sorry.
Thank you. Any other,
Can I just elaborate further John's point? And I don't know if this was intentional, but it made me think about it. You said we have a community rep with National Grid. You know how those new smart meters are coming on?
Oh, yeah.
And it's something where you can't opt out, but after they install it, the booklet said that you then can ask them to come and remove it for a fee.
What?
I've been starting to see a little buzz online that people are finding that their energy is spiking. So I don't know if we can ask them to come and give a little more information about the program.
I read that too. I mean,
Money grab.
it
Yeah.
didn't come from a lot of people, but there were.
It's like a little buzz.
Yeah.
And we just happen to be having some electrical problems right now too, which they said may or may not be related to the install.
So does everybody know
even
what
know when they
he's
installed
talking
it.
about?
They don't tell you. They come like a thief in the night. No, I'm just kidding. So it's supposed to be an eco decision. It's a smart reader. It's supposed to be more eco-friendly for your home, a meter on your house. And everyone got a booklet in the mail.
I have so many things outside my house right now.
Well, and it's, they're putting them in now, but next year it's gonna be mandatory.
Right.
So,
Even seeing people are confused about it. They're not feeling like maybe it's the right choice for them, but I don't have enough information.
okay.
I don't know if we have a community rep who can speak to us about that.
We can ask, yeah.
I'm sorry, what, Steve?
I said we can certainly ask.
We should ask the Energy Committee, and they were here.
Right. I know I thought about it. I actually put a note here to mention it to them.
I was repeating what he said so you could
Oh,
hear him. Sorry.
Hey. All right. I have one, and that is the EDIC. Did everybody take a look at that?
So no.
So the clarification on what basically who governs it, how decision-making is made, all of that. Steve, do you have a recommendation for how we get this out to the community?
Is that the council's
Yes.
Yeah.
opine? Yeah, I can talk to Kate. Maybe we could somehow generate a
You could do like a
informational piece.
highlight.
Yeah.
Or an article. But I think it's important for town residents to understand
Yeah.
their makeup and how how they can make decisions and who can advocate how it's done, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll talk to Kate. We'll do some sort of an
Not
informational
that we
piece.
would, but how does a corporation like the EDIC get dissolved? Is it by vote of its residents at town meeting?
I think it was created through a vote of the residents under Mass General Law, whatever's in that 122 or 128.
Because that letter was very clear that it's not us on the select board.
Right.
But it must be the residents who could vote too.
Yeah. So the term that's used is body politic, and the select board is a body politic. It basically means they're a separate government entity. And it was formed specifically by a vote of the town meeting. So my opinion would be to dissolve it, it would be a vote of town meeting. But there may be legislation or something.
Well, that's
go
the other
along with
thing.
that,
We
so.
need to talk with Aaron about
Yeah.
that as well. I'm not saying one way or another, I'm just, that we'd have to talk with our representative. But in any case, if nobody else has any feedback, individual board members' reports, remember, let's try to keep it high level, and we'll start with John.
I missed the last meeting, so I just want to cover some things I went to. December 1st, I wasn't here. I had my wedding anniversary, so I'm going to go back to that. Thank you. I would have been probably divorced if I showed up to this meeting, just to let everyone know.
Oh, you wouldn't miss any more meetings now, would you?
Yeah. 18 November, I went to the school committee meeting. I'm going to just, you guys probably went over this last time. 18 November, I did CPC, Community Preparation Committee. They had 11 applications. I don't know if you guys covered that. That's a lot this year. CPC had 11 applications this year for
You said Community Reparations Committee?
Community preservation.
Sorry.
Thank you. I was like, is there a new committee? Okay.
How many do they usually get?
It varies. 11's a lot.
Okay.
So it's, I mean, some are historical, some are a lot of recreational, some are other things.
There's only 3 buckets. You
Yeah,
can-
I think they broke them down to the 3 buckets.
Housing, rec. And
Housing, that was the other one.
Historical.
Historical.
Yeah.
19 November, I did a webinar on the opium funds. I thought I was going to learn something more of how we can spend the money. It was more giving ideas, like a couple towns regionalized their money and pulled their money together to hire like a public health person to help with like housing, talk about opium stuff. So it's kind of a good idea, but I thought I could learn more, like, oh, we could buy this or buy that, but it wasn't very informative as much as I thought it was going to be.
That's a bummer.
But it was an hour long. Sudbury's doing that area, if anyone wants to research that, and pass that along to the Opium Settlement Committee. 21 November, I did the luncheon for Senior Center, which Nicole and Lisa were there. That was a fun time. We served 96 people. 24 November, I attended the Communication Committee. We talked about the communication plan some more. That was virtual. 25 November, I did the Board of Assessors meeting. We just went over audits like the veterans credits or senior or rec land, that kind of giving credits to that stuff. 29 November, I did Winter Light Night. I'm not sure if you guys covered that. That was a big ceremony in the town, a lot of fun. So I don't want to get too distracted. Back to my normal week. 2 December, the Board of Assessors was canceled due to weather. So a lot of town offices were closed at noontime, just to let everyone know. People don't realize that sometimes when there's weather, town offices get closed, so meetings get canceled and that stuff. 4 December, I went to Tadgell Building. I met with Kate from the Belchertown State School Friends. Jen Turner was there. Steve popped in and gave me a key. We probably need this as a whole agenda item in the future, but I talked to Steve about this and Jen, but I wish I could share the pictures of this, but there's still chemicals in there leaking. There's computer screens, there's snow blowers, there's Vogel private parts that are painted on the walls now in this building that we have to take care of. So we need some kind of policy or policing of this building. Lock it down, shut it down, get the people cleaning up that use their building. We had an antique phone booth in that building that was apparently given away.
Or put into a dumpster.
Or put into a dumpster. So
Who's that?
I don't know.
The people who cleaned the building out cleaned it out haphazardly and not pristine condition.
And they took the antique telephone?
It's gone.
It's gone.
Who owns the stuff that's
Yeah,
still left
who
in that
owns it?
building?
The school committee owns it. They leased the building from us, so we have to, I know Steve's working with them. Brian's supposed to be cleaning it
I
out,
thought
right?
they already did that.
So the building's been turned over to, it's been turned back over to the administrative control of the town. At town meeting, we voted on that. The school department had been cleaning it out. They hired a company to come in to basically take everything out for salvage. But there's still a lot of things behind. It hasn't been swept out yet. And I talked to Brian about it, and he said he's aware of it, and when he can get his people back in there, they'll finish cleaning the building out. So,
How are we getting graffiti in there? The building should be locked up.
yeah, I don't know if there's any recent graffiti, because we do keep it locked up. Some of that might be pretty old. I don't know. I get in there twice a month, and I haven't seen anything fresh. I haven't seen any fresh vandalism. So that could be pretty old.
The thought was potentially that the folks that were hired to clean out the building may have taken some liberties
Maybe.
on their own.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Because
could
it
be.
wasn't there.
Correct.
It
As
wasn't?
Steve mentioned, it
Yeah.
wasn't there
They were pretty young
beforehand.
people, too.
Yeah.
But EDIC has some stuff in there too that needs to be cleaned out, so that's the reason I wanted to
Yeah.
see how much stuff EDIC had in there in the basement, so it didn't get wet, destroyed. So Steve's working to find a spot for them to get their stuff out of that building also. But I guess it's a good topic to bring up, and we should talk about how we're gonna use the building what we're gonna do with it currently. Should we lock it up, mothball it, that kind of stuff.
If you want to see this on the agenda,
Yeah.
send
I'll
an
send you
email
a
to
thing,
me and CC Steve, and, well, we'll talk about.
Or go through a walkthrough, yeah. 8 December, I did the tri-board meeting. 9 December, that's the day we did the trail grant meeting. That was a general talk about it more. Then I stayed, ended up staying for the survey. I was here waiting for my kids, so I stayed for the survey update, which was I'll let Jen talk about that. 10 December, I did a veterans group. Just met veterans at the VFW upstairs, kind of get the veterans organized, tell them we have open committee, just meet with the veterans and go over that kind of stuff. 10 December, I also attended the finance committee virtually. I'll let Nicole talk about that more. 11 December, I met with the residents of Pine Valley Plantation in person, answered questions for them, gave them an update of what the town's doing. They gave me an update of what they're doing for their water line, that kind of stuff.
How many people did you get there?
There was probably about 30 people there. They hired a new facility manager, so that's kind of nice. So I got to meet them. I'm invited back in March, and I said I could bring a guest, so if anyone wants to go with me, and we don't have to violate.
Looking for other board members to.
Yeah, that's March, yeah.
Okay.
So if anyone wants to go with me in March, if Steve wants to go or anybody, it's a good group of residents. They can't get out very much as they're older residents, but like I told them, a lot of things is, this is our aging population in town.
Yeah.
We got to think about that and access to them, especially telling the fire department, like they're digging up the road, the fire truck needs to get down there, an ambulance needs to get down the street. We need to be cautious of that kind of stuff, and we alert the fire department of that.
So we need to think about how we can increase town services to meet this,
Aging
the population needs.
11 December, I also attended the communication committee, which Chris talked about the communication plan for me.
Yeah.
We brought up the town warrant. Now Ed's going to modernize the town warrant, which I think will be great. He's backing it up from town and making it like a timeline so we can hit those timelines backwards, if that makes sense. So he's doing a great job with that. I know he met with Steve and a couple other people. So 14 December, I attended the winter market at Jabesh Brook. So just to let people know, the school's opened up Jabesh Brook, so our community vendors could sell products or
Winter Farmers Market.
winter, yeah, it's whatever they.
Was there a good turnout?
There was a good turnout, yeah. So they had the whole lobby and they had the cafeteria, and the gym was being used for gym stuff, but it's a good use of the building. And last thing I want to mention is 19 December, the senior center is doing a holiday luncheon. The only reason I remember it's at 10:30 if we can all serve if we want to, but the VFW did donate 2 tables again to help so we could max capacity that room to 96 seats. They're short on tables, so that's something I told them to think about when they bring up their budget stuff is, do they need tables? That's a great CPC grant maybe, so that's stuff. But back to the VFW helping our senior centers out. So that's how the community is working. Everyone's helping everybody out, which is a positive thing.
I'm not going to be able to go. I'm actually going out of state that day.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
You are?
I'll be there.
Steve, you're invited. Everyone's invited. So
19th.
Yep. They're serving prime rib.
I had confirmed, and then someone put a meeting on my calendar that I can't get out of.
Okay.
I really want to go.
It's really fun.
It was fun.
That job
You go.
seems to
No, I
get
can't.
Okay. Nicole, you want to go
Right, I was
next?
going to say this is the last time I go after him. And he took
I'm sorry.
I'm
I
trying
do
to
do
get high
that
level
to you.
too.
I do that to you.
and he took my thunder on the senior center. All right, December 8th, tri-board meeting. December 10th, Miss Lisa and I sat together and we wrote our draft policy on federal matters, which we will be ready to present on maybe next agenda or after that. Okay. Also, same night, went to finance committee. They had 2 things. They accepted a motion to implement public comment going forward. Max of 2 minutes per person to a max of 20 minutes, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then as I had mentioned earlier, they made an advisory recommendation to the select board to create a strategic economic planning committee. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's great. That's great. Whitney?
I don't have too much either. I I can't remember which day actually, John and I. When did we get together and start working on the food truck policy?
I think I had it on my calendar for Wednesday or Thursday.
It was last Wednesday or
Yeah.
Thursday. We started working on that, and we are just about done. So we'll send that for the have on a future agenda to discuss. And just very high level. I know I think I already told all of you, but I attended on the 6th the Stonehouse tour for the Christmas Pass. It was fantastic. I believe it's done at this point, but I very much look forward to doing this in the future. The Historical Society did a great job, and everybody should definitely attend in the future if you can. It was so well done. And then I attended on the 7th. The Family Center did do a swap through the Recreation Department, and it was actually quite well attended. I wasn't there long, but there was a lot of traffic flowing of children of different ages, and the collaborative was there also to talk about the services that they provide. So that was nice. I attended the tri-board meeting with all of you, and then afterward I stuck around for the tail end of the Creative Economy Committee, which is the first time I've attended one of those. My goodness, they're doing great work.
Aren't they?
They really are. Just to see all of these different thoughtful things that are happening in town brought under one committee. It's just so wonderful, and I'm very much looking forward to this summit that they're planning for the spring. It'll be wonderful. And then last night I got to attend my very first Hanukkah lighting. I'd never been to one before. And Jen and some other folks put that on, and that was very well attended. I hope you were happy with the attendance.
Yeah, it's great.
It was a great community event. There was dreidel playing, and there was singing and lighting a menorah, and there was decorations, and it was super fun. It was just a nice community event.
Yeah.
And is that the first time? Is this the first annual?
No, well, we did it 2 years ago,
Oh, okay.
and nobody organized it last year, and I was out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we did have some ideas for next year.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Are you done, Whitney?
I'm done.
All right, good job. All right, Jen.
Just recapping things that people have already said. As John mentioned, we talked about the Mass Trails Grant, which is due in February. So we have a couple of ideas that Doug is pursuing and kicking around, and we'll get that buttoned up so that we can get some quotes and get some grant applications out the door. The Boys and Girls Club, again, you wanted like a highlight. It wasn't really much of a conversation, more so like, here's the data. What do we do with it? We sent Lisa, our cultural district manager, sent it off to the local Boys and Girls Club, and that was pretty much all that we talked about at that meeting. It wasn't very exciting in any way, shape, or form. So we're working on this summit idea, town hall, if you will. I spoke this morning with somebody from Mass Creative. They do arts advocacy, and so they are happy to come and support our efforts. So I said, that sounds great, and she had some suggestions, and it was in alignment with what we had already sort of mapped out. So we're going to meet with them back in January and see what kind of support that they can provide to us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, it's late. I'm tired. I did a lot of meetings with Steve. I met with Nicole on the federal matters. I went to the same tri-board meeting that you all went to. I did work with the chair of the finance committee, and I'm just going to leave it at that so we can basically finish out the meeting and move into executive session. So are there any questions from the press? Melina?
Nope.
Okay, thank you, Melina.
Thanks, Melina.
Okay, we have to take a vote to move into executive session?
I move that we enter into executive session, not to return to open session, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, parentheses, International Association of Firefighters, Local 5042, AFL-CIO Collective Bargaining Agreement negotiations.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 All right. And with that,